Here's Akinjo, and he's got a triple.
Welcome to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Purdy escapes, throws downfield, and intercepted. Kalyn Barnes comes up with it.
Sikkim 365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Altmaier steps up, drives the ball, and it is intercepted. J.T. Woods again. That is his second of the night.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
First and goal. To the end zone, and it is held for the touchdown. Cooper.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
There's so much to get to from over the weekend, and including the Baylor men and women. Baylor getting a share of the Big 12 men's championship with Kansas. The women outright win again for the 12th consecutive year. And they basically have just owned the buzzsaw of the Big 12. Then the combine with Kalyn Barnes yesterday. Tyquan Thornton, of course, on, Thursday. And we discussed that a little bit on Friday. And we'll have Kalyn Barnes, former Baylor cornerback, who put the NFL Combine on fire yesterday with his speed in the 40. He'll join us today at 5:15. Big 12 had their awards come out. Scott Drew was the coach of the year. And not saying I disagree with it, but I don't know. I didn't expect that because of Mark Adams at Tech and even Iowa State with TJ as well. And so that's interesting. But I want to get into the debate that we have when honors and awards are given out and what people say once they don't like or disagree with who, by the way, picks the team. And this was the coaches poll that came out. Want to say hi to Rodney, Mike, Carol, Randy, and Jeffrey. Yesterday during the women's celebration, all of you came up to me and said hi. You listen to us every day with Paul and Craig on Sikkim 365 Radio. We appreciate that. A lot of confetti was dropped. But there is a breaking story in sports, and we'll get Scott Drew today at 4. I don't remember the last time this happened. I brought up the name of Paul Hornung. Calvin Ridley, Atlanta Falcons wide receiver, has been banned for a year for gambling on games. Paul, you have no more information about this. We'll just jump into this for a second and then move on to everything else with college basketball and football.
Well, he's just tweeted out that he only bet $1,500 total. He says he doesn't have a gambling problem, but because the activity took place during a 5-day period in late November when Ridley was not with the team and away from the Cubs facility on the non-football illness list, apparently he's violated the terms of the collective bargaining agreement and he's due for suspension. It is weird that you would suspend a guy who's not with the team and then say he had no inside information and didn't affect any games, but rules are rules.
Yeah, no, this is breaking the one. I mean, this is how Pete Rose is not in baseball's Hall of Fame, right? Mm-hmm. Isn't that the reason why Pete Rose is not in baseball's Hall of Fame? Gambling on games. Of course, he also gambled perhaps even on games he was managing. So we'll have that as well. Craig, your thoughts about that particular? I mean, you just can't do it. And I know that there'll be defense, and I get that, and maybe there's more to it than I can realize, but you just can't do it.
No, you can't. It's one of the big no-nos in all sports and has been for decades now. And so, regardless of what his reasoning why was, I only did a few games here. I mean, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that you only did this or only did that. If you did it at all, it's a breaking of the rules and pretty clear cut. That's what that is. So I'm sure we'll hear more information. But, I mean, the NFL's already done their investigation. He had stepped away for his mental well-being. I don't know that those two aren't related somehow. And, now you get this story. So, very out of nowhere and sort of bizarre. I don't know if there was smoke to this previously. I don't follow Falcons Twitter very closely, if at all. So, kind of shocked to see a story like this because it's not something that we see very often.
So that's a story, a breaking story in sports in general. NFL receiver, Falcons receiver, Ridley, suspended for the rest, suspended for next year. And there'll be a lot said between now and then. We'll see what also comes out. Now, we discussed throughout the day Friday what Tyquan Thornton did at the NFL Combine Thursday night. Ran that 4.21. It was bumped to a 4.28. And then also, over the weekend, Baylor had two more players run sub 4.4. And in fact, JT Woods ran a 4.36. And then this yesterday with former Baylor cornerback Kalyn Barnes. No, you don't have the 40?
I have the interview here. Let me get the 40 real quick.
It was the first time schools had three players with sub 4.4, 40-yard dash at a single combine since 2003, and in fact had sub 4.3 guys this year alone than any school ever combined since 2003. Speed kills. Here's Kalyn Barnes.
Just so clean getting out. 4.29. All right. Oh, the fans dig it.
Now, that was his second run. The first one was pretty good, and they actually bumped it better, to 4.23, only behind Ross, the receiver from Washington. Think about the teams, the players that Baylor recruited back when they had the transition between the Art Briles, Jim Grobe, and then Matt Rule football team and program. Matt Rule said that he was going to recruit players that eventually would be able to be ready when it was time to become pros, or at least they would understand it. Not that they didn't have some before. This weekend, that popped up big time from the former coach and what he did with his staff.
Yeah, it really did. I mean, when you get guys like Kalyn, we talked about Kalyn Barnes the other day of where he was, as a cornerback last year, he was good. I mean, he was fine. He didn't really light it up the way you'd expect him to. I thought eventually he was going to turn a corner because he had made a lot of plays, not a lot of, but a couple plays interception-wise over his first couple of years. Said, okay, if this guy can stay healthy, he probably ran himself from being an undrafted free agent into the bottom of the draft, I would think, right here. But still, you look at the tape and his coverage is okay, but he's not lighting up. But this is a big deal for him because now, if you're this fast, teams are going to try to find a spot for you.
Yeah, it was great for Kalyn. There's a lot of hype going into this about what he could potentially run. There's been talk about it for years, and for him to reel off the second fastest time in combine history is pretty amazing. I don't think it's shocking to people who have followed him, but it's still pretty cool to see him actually go out there and do it, and you wondered if he would be able to even surpass what Tyquan did, but I know a lot of people had faith in him that he would, and I don't think it gets him drafted necessarily. It's a 40-yard dash. It's not, bigger than the actual game tape. It's not bigger than some of the other intangibles, but it's confirmation. Like anybody who thinks the NFL scouts showed up this weekend, they're like, wow, I didn't realize Kalyn Barnes was fast. Like, no, they know that. They know everything about these guys, so nobody was shocked by him running the fast 40. They may have been shocked by how high he went. But that was great for him, and perhaps it does give him a little bit in terms of, in the 6th, 7th rounds, if there's players sitting there and they're deciding between Kalyn Barnes and other guys, they go, well, here, this guy ran off a, sub 4.3. Let's give him a shot because of his athleticism. Maybe that gets him drafted before others, but I still think it's going to be a close call for him. But, yeah, it was a big combine weekend for those guys and him in particular.
Well, it was an amazing weekend. JT Woods did well. I saw a video of Terrell Bernard on the bench press, and of course others that did very, very well for Baylor. And now they'll have the pro day, and then eventually lead up to the draft in April. The Big 12 men's basketball co-champions, Kansas, they've won a piece or a lot of times outright 20 of 26 of the Big 12 men's basketball regular season championships. That's insane. That's why what Baylor did last year was so impressive, and what they did even this year to get back in it and lead and at one point have the ability to control their own destiny, which they did. But 20 of 26, and Baylor now has won back-to-back Big 12 regular season titles as well. Scott Drew, Coach of the Year. Did that surprise you guys?
Given what he had to deal with down the stretch, no. I mean, that you lost. Okay, he lost not just a player that was having the rotation, the Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year. He lost him. And there wasn't another guy who even played his position on the roster after him. Like they just had to completely change what they were doing. And after that, they lost 2 games. Or 3.
Not to mention their leading scorer. About the time he started to heat up, he's missed basically every game but perhaps 1 or 2 in the last 6 or 7 weeks as well in LJ Cryer. Texas Tech swept Baylor. Baylor, of course, split with Kansas. Also, Iowa State was in this mix as well because of how they turned around from 2 wins to being a team that's going to make the tournament. Bill Self's name had to come up in this mix as well. Had this been voted on 2 weeks ago, most likely Mark Adams wins this hands down. But it's voted on after the year. Baylor was 7-2 and 7-2 at home and away. And I see that. I've seen some of the banter. It's not Scott Drew's fault. And it's not Mark Adams' fault. It is the coaches. And you can't vote for yourself. So I was thrilled for Scott Drew. But if it had been Mark Adams, I wouldn't have complained about it. Some would have. Baylor fans maybe would have. And then now that it's Scott Drew, that's 3 in a row after for so many years. I thought he probably could have been Coach of the Year before with teams that maybe overachieved that were underrated to start the year. But, Craig, your thoughts about Scott Drew as head coach of the year in the Big 12?
I mean, well-deserved. Congratulations to him. First time to have a coach do it 3 years in a row. And, again, I think it's well-deserved. I know others have their arguments. Mark Adams or, Iowa State fans have their, pitch that they could make, or Kansas fans with Bill Self and so on and so forth. But, I mean, like you said, if it would have been Mark Adams named Coach of the Year, I wouldn't have cared 1 iota. If it had been Mark Adams, I wouldn't have cared 1 iota. It's funny to me. I just kind of laugh at all these people that get so angry. A lot of Tech fans angry, I noticed yesterday. But their big sticking point was, hey, we went 2-0 against Baylor, but did you win the co-championship? Because Baylor did. So, if it's head-to-head, then, hey, Mark Adams deserves a head-to-head championship Coach of the Year award. But that's not what the award's all about. So others voted differently, and they voted for Scott Drew. And it's as simple as that. And you can be mad at the voters if you want, but I think you just show your true fan colors, really, because if you're a Texas Tech fan who's being honest, you can see the case for Scott Drew. If you're a Kansas fan who's being honest, you can see the case for Scott Drew. If you're a Baylor fan who's being honest, you see the case for the other guys, and you go, yeah, if they would have won it, that's cool. You don't get angry about it like a petulant little child, but that's sports fans for you, so I can understand being a little upset, but you can't say it's undeserved. I think that just makes you look like a massive homer, really.
Well, and I get it. Mark Adams is fantastic. I vote for the All-American team and Coach of the Year, and I know that Tommy Lloyd at Arizona and Ed Cooley, of course, with what he's done at Providence, they're in the mix as well. Will be interesting when all that comes out at some point. One of the things that I want to say this as well is that Texas Tech, as far as the men's team, I would have said a couple of weeks ago they were as good as anybody else in the Big 12. They have at least hit some bumps in the road. And I've seen those who cover Tech, and I've even seen fans kind of go, wait a minute, what's going on with our late game situations, our rotation or whatever? It's happened to everybody. For them, unfortunately, it happened near the end of the year. Now they've had a few days, you would think, to try to correct it and also start the Big 12 tournament, both the men and women in Kansas City. Kansas dodged numerous bullets in that game Saturday early before Baylor played Iowa State in their win against Texas, but they found a way. Yeah. I mean, bullet after bullet. UT had opportunities to put that thing on ice.
You know why Bill Self is always going to be a candidate for Big 12 Coach of the Year? Because 4 games in 7 days. That's what they played. Saturday to Saturday. They played Baylor, TCU twice, and then Texas. And you could tell on Saturday that Kansas was gassed, particularly in the fact that Ochai Agbaji, who hasn't had a bad game all year, could not make a shot.
No.
He would have had, at 6 feet, he was going to have trouble dropping it in. He was so off, but fought through, and they managed to win that game, and they got David McCormick and Jalen Wilson carried him. Christian Brown couldn't make shots either. So everything that they relied on all year, and they found a way to beat Texas. And, yeah, Yeah, that's why the Big 12 has 3 guys you could easily make the case for Coach of the Year this year.
Yeah, and maybe 4 and possibly more. So that's what's going on with that, but the season's over. What a run, huh? What an absolute just buzzsaw throughout the year. The 2 teams that tied for the lead, 14-4, Texas Tech 12-6. Texas finished in 4th place, and they were on the edge in about 3 to 5 games this year, late, where they could have, flipped the switch on a couple of them. Who knows what might happen? Nikki Collin and the women celebrated their Big 12 title yesterday. We'll hear from her a little bit today at 4:45 as well. Now, the latest on bracketology, the latest on net ratings as we head into what is, of course, March Madness's final conference week as far as tournaments, and there's already been some upsets. Gonzaga, Arizona, Baylor, and Kentucky are 1 through 4 when it comes to the net ratings. Now, when you look at bracketology, and I thought I had this here right in front of me. I'm sorry, I'm kind of going blank on this. If you look at bracketology, Baylor, Gonzaga, Arizona, and in 1, Kansas is a number 1 seed. In another one, it is Gonzaga, it's Baylor, it's Arizona, and I don't remember who the other number 1 seed might be, but it's tight. Does Baylor have enough? Does Kansas have enough? Do they need to win this week in Kansas City? Arizona seems to be pretty secured, and so is Gonzaga. What do they have to do? What does Baylor have to do, Kansas have to do to get a number 1 seed or secure or remain a number 1 seed if, in fact, they are right now?
I don't think past winning their first game in the tournament, it's gonna make much of a difference. I mean, if they play each other in the championship game, whoever wins, I don't think that's gonna affect them that much. I really don't.
You think that they can? What if they play Oklahoma in the first round? They take care of Oklahoma, which is not a given. They struggled with them the first game. I remember correctly. I believe that was correct. And who knows, a team, that's why you play the tournament. If they win the first game, are they a number 1 seed then? Craig?
Baylor, you're asking?
Yes.
Yeah, I think they're a number 1 seed pretty much regardless, I think.
And that's what I wondered. And I asked Scott Drew that question. We'll have him today at 4 o'clock. Kansas possibly still remains a number 1 seed depending on what they do in the tournament as well.
I don't know why it would change for one or the other. To me, I think that Baylor's resume is slightly better when it comes to quad 1 wins and all those different Ken Palm numbers. But to me, at this point, I'm not sure there's anything that either one of them can do or not do that would change how you really feel about them in long term. Especially given that this conference tournament's pretty much shaken out top to 1 through whatever as everybody kind of thought it would.
Texas Tech is the number 3 seed. So if you have 1, 2, 3, and 4 win, which probably won't happen the way the Big 12 is and how good those quarterfinal round games are going to be, but there is a chance you could have Baylor, Texas Tech 3, and then you could have Kansas and Texas 3. And who knows? Texas Tech, of course, swept Baylor, and Kansas and Baylor went 1-1. Kansas and Texas went 1-1. Who knows what might happen? Remember, last year, Texas won the Big 12 tournament. Remember, Kansas couldn't play in the semifinal game. Is that right? Mm-hmm. And then UT got knocked out in the opening round by Abilene Christian. So you never know what might happen. Let's talk Brittany Griner.
I've thought about this every different way on Brittany Griner. Now, I am perfectly willing to accept the fact that she made a mistake and put a vape pen in her luggage and didn't trust that the Russians wouldn't do this to her. But this is Vladimir Putin propaganda to its T, in that an American gold medalist lesbian black person who all things that he doesn't like, all the way down the line, commits a minor offense and is now detained for 3 weeks, going on a month, right as he's about to pull his first real super crazy dictator move in over 20 years on the job. So Brittany Griner is a pawn in Vladimir Putin's stupid, ridiculous game. And if you don't understand how much the Olympics are important to this guy, he cheats in the Olympics in every sport and encourages it. And when an Olympian from another country comes in, he can punish them for some reason, uses it as a political tool. And if you find out in America that somebody's cheating in figure skating, you're like, why? Who cares? But that's how different it is. It's unfortunate that Brittany has gotten herself in this situation, and I'm sure that she bears some small responsibility to it. But let's be reasonable here. 3 weeks to be held in custody for a vape pen, possibly with hashish oil in it, and you can't trust a thing the Russians say about anything, is insane. It is insane to use an American celebrity is a pawn, to use all the Americans or whoever they're using as pawns in whatever game they're playing. And, it's unfortunate.
Here's the argument that I am not going to listen to at all. Whatever happened, whatever is the truth, we don't know. And yes, Paul, here's an article, Top Secret Umbra. Putin's religious war against Ukraine is also an anti-gay crusade. That's an article. Eric just shared that with us. But I don't know what Brittany Griner did or not. I know she was trying to leave the country. I know that a lot of players had already left the country. I know there was an alert that she was supposed to leave. They wanted her to leave at the end of January. But I do know this as well. I don't want to hear the argument about the men. Women have to go to Russia, and it's not fair to earn money overseas. Tweety Carter just got back from playing overseas. Men's basketball players who can't make it in the NBA have to go over there to make money because there's not enough depth elsewhere outside of the NBA. I don't want to hear about the fact that it's unfair that women have to go to Russia or wherever else to play basketball to make money overseas. A lot of people do. Oil women do. People in the oil business do. Others do. It's part of the way things are. But she's been detained now for 3 weeks or 4 weeks? Yeah, that kind of sucks. And you wonder where it's going to go from here. I haven't heard much about it from today, though.
Well, I don't think there's much to say. I mean, I don't think much has really happened. I saw Colin Allred, who is, I believe he's actually Armstrong's family's congressional representative, a former Baylor linebacker. He has tweeted about he's kind of getting involved directly in Brittany Griner's case. The problem is that Brittany Griner is the most famous American to be detained, but a lot of Americans that were trying to get out were detained. A lot of Americans there have been detained. And then she was going in, and I think the biggest mistake she should have seen, the writing on the wall, is maybe this is a time where you don't go in. But
yeah,
I mean, that's the biggest thing is, find something else. But because considering how hard it's been to get people out of the Ukraine, the women's athletes that were playing there that had to leave, it was not really a smart move for her people and her to go over there. But that doesn't mean that she needs to be detained against her will for a misdemeanor.
Well, our laws aren't everybody else's laws. Yeah. So, we treat marijuana products a certain type of way, and other places treat them far more seriously. And we treat them pretty serious in some cases as well. A lot of people serving long jail sentences for weed that shouldn't be, in prison for 20 years. But, that's our prison industrial complex. That's a whole nother topic. But in other places, it's taken very seriously, like in Japan. You don't want to get caught with weed in Japan. You get in big trouble if you get caught with weed in Japan. And I don't know what Russia's stance is on, their marijuana laws and all of that. I don't know if Brittany did something intentionally or not. I'm not going to try to speculate because that's really not the most important thing here. Would I be surprised if she was trying to smuggle something in because she's going to be in Russia the next few months and needs a little downtime? No, I would not be surprised by that at all because I think people probably try to do it all the time. Was it moronic to not have every single thing in your luggage as an American, a high-profile American going into Russia when you're probably one of two people in the airport and the other one's a government official being forced back? To have anything that could possibly be misconstrued, moronic. You're right, dude. She should never have been going there in the first place. There has to be another team overseas that would be more than welcome to, welcome in Brittany Griner. She does not need to be in Russia at this moment of all moments. I mean, that's just, I don't know what the thought process was there. I don't know if people don't watch news or what. That boggled my mind that she was even attempting to go over there right now. So yeah, it's an awful story. She has to feel totally powerless, I would think, and that's the scary part is, you get locked up in America and you're Brittany Griner, the big basketball player over there. You're Brittany Griner, the big basketball pawn potentially in a freaking world war. So yeah, I mean, just not a story I expected to see when I woke up on Saturday, but here we are, and there she is, and I don't know what the next step is, but obviously she could be used as a chess piece, so to speak. I know that the U.S. Secretary of State talked about it yesterday, Anthony Blinken, and there was another government official that talked about it, and I remember where I read the quote, but they said, they're not going to, stop sanctions to get Brittany Griner home either. So, it's not like there's some quick fix. They're not going to, all right, Ukraine, we were helping you out with this war, but we got to stop now because we got to bring, that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. That's not going to be the trade. So, I don't know how it gets worked out, but just an awful situation for her to find herself in, however it occurred. And I hope she gets out because I can't imagine time in a Russian cell is ever fun, especially not right now.
And then Joey, a couple of the chat rooms, she was locked up before the invasion of Ukraine. Her name didn't come out until recently, which is why it's news now. No, that's exactly right.
No, you're right.
Yeah,
I'm just saying, like, in general, there's been talk about this for quite a while, and I'm just saying Russia is not a place I would want to be going. You're right, though. It happened before the big invasion and all that, but that's been rumored about for quite a while.
And it's not, look, a gymnast in the Summer Olympics is in trouble today because he wore a Z on his jersey on the medal stand because he was supporting the Russian invasion of Ukraine back then in the summer. So it's not like Putin just woke up one day 2 weeks ago and said, you know what, I'm going to Ukraine. Guys, go in. He's been planning this for a long time, and any little he is a very savvy when it comes to, I'm not trying to compliment him, but he's a mad genius when it comes to all these things about these little political pawns, because he grew up in the Soviet era. He was in the KGB and the FSB. He was a spy. He knows how these things work. So he's doing every little thing to get attention and rally propaganda to his side. And
a couple of notes, one you mentioned, Craig, about Japan, our web, a lot of countries in the Far East, punishable by death. Just don't do it. Also, let's see, Chris Griner better not hope Putin doesn't accuse her of being a spy. They might do that. Who knows? There are other Americans that continue to be incarcerated for years and still are incarcerated. That is without an invasion. Yeah. Russia cannot be trusted. And I think most of us understand that.
The thing is, she's going to be made an example of potentially. Like, when she went in wasn't the worst time, obviously, because about 2-3 weeks later was the absolute worst time. But there had to be, if you were paying attention, some kind of like, is this a good idea, or is this the best time, or is there a better place to potentially play? I don't know what her contract situation is, but I'm like, by no means am I suggesting that Vladimir Putin was like, oh, Brittany Griner's coming into town. Let's use, like, there was no pre-planning in my mind for Brittany Griner. I just can't imagine that they're that deep.
It came across their desk and they went, okay.
Yeah. I don't think they were like, here's a mission. We're going to get this big basketball star. No. I don't think there's anything along those lines. But did they, stumble upon it here recently? Like, oh, wait a second. Yeah, maybe. But yeah, I think she was somebody who got in a bad situation, and they realized who she was after the fact, I guess, and that's made it a bigger story. But you're right. There's a lot of Americans locked away in Russia for years now that we don't hear about or don't know about. So I hope she's not, ultimately somebody that we're talking about in that same way. That's just my only hope with this story, regardless of all the rest of it.
Mike Bean in Singapore, you could get caned if caught. Caned, excuse me, God. If caught chewing bubble. I've seen that. I've seen a video. I've seen that. No kidding, from Mike, and also Mike on a brighter side. Okay, I'm sorry, from PJ. They have horrible anti-LBT GQ laws as well in Russia. But that's one of the stories, and my phone started blowing up. I started getting texts, Daniel and Jennifer and among others. And I was like, initially I didn't know the story. I'm like, wouldn't surprise me. I mean, I'm smoking dope and whatever, that's okay. I mean, I'm not saying it's up to you on what you do, but it wouldn't have surprised me. And then I realized, then I read the story, and the fact that she had been detained for as long as she has, that makes you wonder just a little bit. Lee Buttercup, Putin hates that Russia has been kicked out of world sports. He absolutely could have done this as just a petty retaliation. And oh, by the way, Phil texting us or chatting today. He's in Vegas. Got college basketball, capital of almost the world. He's got 12 games he's going to be able to watch in 4 days, and as a fan of college basketball. So that's a lot. It's a lot on our plate. We'll have Scott Drew today at 4, loaded up between 4 and 6. Also, there's the North Carolina Duke story. I want to get into that in the next segment. Armstrong Sims is wearing his powder blue North Carolina colors today. He hates Duke. He hates Coach Krzyzewski. He is as thrilled as he could possibly be.
He nods his head. He's not even trying to deny it.
And we're going to have a writer who, growing up, Armstrong has read all of his stuff, who's going to join us today at, I think, 4:30, who covered that game, covers North Carolina for a website, in fact, a part of North Carolina. And he wrote a backstory about that game, leading up to the game, leading of the week before the game, and then afterwards, which is pretty darn good. And Armstrong, you can be a part of that segment as well if you want. Of course, anytime you can be, but so that's that. The chat room's going crazy. Let's open the lines up. Mack Rhodes is the athletic director at Baylor University. Football won the Big 12 title. Men's basketball, Scott Drew was here when Mack arrived. but they've now won back-to-back. The women, Nikki Collin, who he hired, they won it. Yes, they had the best player perhaps in the country when Nikki Collin arrived. Let me tell you something. There was a major amount of relief. Nikki said this in the postgame yesterday. There was relief when they beat Texas because they knew they needed to beat Texas, who's red hot. They've won 8 in a row, I think, since they lost those back-to-back games to Baylor. She said the last week has been nothing but like joy. There's that word again. We'll hear from her a little bit today at 4:45. So they won. They dominated. I don't know if Nalissa Smith's going to be the player of the year. She will be in the Big 12. I don't know about nationally. She absolutely will be getting votes, though, because of the run she's been on and the player that she's been as well. And I didn't even remember this. When we come back, a note or two about Baylor baseball. What a weekend for them. What a Sunday night for them. That and more. Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. The number, 254-339-1122. Your calls are next.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco is a hidden gem. If you are looking for whether it's high-end bourbon, whether it is, the best craft beer selection around, wine, spirits, whatever you need, they've got it at Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Great customer service. They always have cool events going on. They've got what you're looking for at Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street. The customer service, like I said, is out of this world. And again, if you drive up in the drive-thru window, you just need a couple things really quickly. You see 5 cars in the line, guess what? Be car number 6 before you can count to about 50. You'll probably be up in the line. That's how fast they move on through. And now I'm probably exaggerating there a little bit, but usually you say I need, A, B, and C. It's in your hands. Pay your bill. On your way really quickly. They're the best. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel & Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel & Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel & Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneersboys.com.
It was broad daylight. I stepped into a gas station for 5 minutes to grab a snack, and just like that, my car was broken into. They made out like a bandit. My laptop, my phone, everything. I called my agent to see what could be done, and he restored my faith in humanity. My claim was processed so quickly, and I was able to recover my losses.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Did you know that Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness is a partner of the city of Waco? Did you know that we are open to the public? Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness offers day passes to the public for only $10 a day, and we offer money-saving memberships. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness offers over 40 group exercise classes each week, including bar, yoga, boot camp, indoor cycling, and more. There are free weights, weight machines, TRX, rowing machines, stationary bikes, new treadmills, elliptical machines, and much more on the spacious weight room floor. Personal training available where you can be encouraged to grow. Sauna, whirlpool, pool, tanning bed, and kids club. 17 tennis courts, 8 pickleball courts, youth and adult tennis and pickleball lessons. Waco's premier experience, where you can help your mind, body, and soul. Visit our website at wacotennis.com. Call us at 254-753-7675 or visit us next to Hawaiian Falls on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
Payments for qualified buyers are 2.9% with $5,000 down cash or trade. TTN Electra, see dealer for details.
The New Year, New Ride sales event continues at Richard Carr. Find pre-owned deals like a 2015 GMC Acadia or a 2016 Honda Accord for $227 a month, or get a 2019 Ram Tradesman truck for $333 a month. Our vehicles go through a 172-point inspection. Get top dollar for your trade, and 100% approval is always the goal. Find your next car or truck today at Richard Carr.
At Richard Carr, we give you more.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Have you subscribed to our YouTube channel? Search 365 Sports on YouTube.
Baylor baseball last night beat LSU. Top 10 team beat UCLA Friday. In between, in a tremendous tournament down in Houston, that Shriners Classic, you had some, like UCLA beat Texas. That's their first loss. UT is really, really elite good. And UCLA, who Baylor beat Friday, beat Texas 5-1. Tennessee was there. I mean, there was some, LSU was there. Some really good baseball down in Houston. And so that's a nice win for Steve Rodriguez and company. And Oklahoma got beat up pretty good in that tournament. They were there, and they're usually pretty good when it comes to baseball as well. Now, the Big 12 men's tournament, if you're Baylor, you right now are on a number one seed line. You just got a co-championship. How do you handle this week? Because I think what they'll do is they'll try to go and win every game. No one's going to sit there and go, well, we're a number one seed. Well, you know, I think they're going to try to do what they did last year, but Oklahoma State played really well and then beat them. Cade Cunningham went off in that tournament game. It didn't hurt Baylor. They were still the number one seed. Then it gave them a day or two to kind of decompress in a bubble. Then they went to Indianapolis. So if they lose, it's not because we're pretty good shape. I think they're going to go into it, try to win it, because I think more minutes with this new lineup is important with the chemistry and the reps.
Yeah, I think so. I hope they don't have this game doesn't matter kind of vibe to them. I think that would be silly for them to do such a thing. But at the same time, I also don't think that fans should stress if they don't play well for a game and lose. I think that the real measure of this team and the teams in the Big 12 are going to be what happens when they don't have to play each other anymore. This league is so deep and so well scouted, and they know each other so well that I don't think you should maybe judge them on what happens in the tournament, because it'll be the third time that everybody's playing each other. So by this time, you should know them pretty well. And so you kind of maybe have to hope for a team to be gassed or out of it, or, giving up. And it is a little dangerous that Baylor does have Oklahoma the first game, because Oklahoma's only shot to get in the tournament is to win the thing.
No, that's right.
So
that's right.
They're in a corner, and they've got to win the thing. But I don't know if they're good enough to. They just kind of showed that they're good at times, but they're not a great team. They're an average team. That's what Oklahoma's been all year.
Oklahoma's not going to win the Big 12 tournament. I'd be stunned if Oklahoma won the Big 12 tournament. Other than them needing to get into the tournament, what leads anybody to believe they can win the tournament? Yeah. Just
because
their
being
pure desire.
Yeah.
Their pure desire is going to be greater than anybody else's, but that's not going to change the talent level or the fact that they've been near the bottom the entire time. That's not disrespecting Oklahoma. That's just, that's the reality of it. I'm not expecting Baylor to go in and just go win this thing. I don't know who's going to win it. Last year was Texas that won the tournament. So, this is an event where somebody could pop up that's not maybe expected to and get themselves a big championship win. But, I don't know what to expect. It almost seems like overkill, these teams playing each other yet again, because we've seen everybody play each other twice at this point. That's how it is every year. I get it. But this has just seemed like such a long year, especially for Baylor, that to have to go play another Big 12 game is just like, geez Louise. But I anticipate them beating Oklahoma, and I don't know what happens after that. But, they're in a great position. To even be Big 12 champions, co-champs is still Big 12 champs, and that was not anything anybody was talking about 2 weeks ago. So they had to do pretty much not impossible, but they had to go through a very difficult slate of games to even get in this position and also get some help. And thanks to TCU, they got that help, and they were able to get the wins that they needed, albeit by the skin of their teeth on Saturday. They got way too close for comfort given how it started, but in the end they were champs. So I think they're as well set up as they're going to be. We've talked all year about injuries. It is what it is. So they are who they are, and we'll see what happens now with the postseason beginning.
Oklahoma finished 7-11 in the conference, and I know what you guys are saying, but they beat Iowa State. They beat Kansas State twice. They beat Oklahoma State. They beat Texas Tech. They beat West Virginia twice. And I know West Virginia finished at the bottom at 4-14. And I believe that's right. They swept by Baylor, swept by Kansas, and swept by TCU and also Texas. So those were the 8 of their losses were those 4 teams. So they've won some games. There's no question. And I want Billy Jameson on the chat room, I want to clarify this. Billy goes, won or shared? Since we came on the air at 3 o'clock, we have mentioned that they were co-champions, that they shared the championship, and they won it. I think all of them. Kansas won it, shared it, and they were co-champions like Baylor was. So every time we mention they won the Big 12 title, if we don't say co or shared, don't get overly sensitive because we both know we all know how the conference standings
man.
finish.
Come on, you know what we mean. It's not any disrespect towards Kansas or it's you're nitpicking. They had the trophy in the case. It counts as a championship. That's all we're saying.
Yeah. And so the tournament does start Wednesday, Kansas State, West Virginia in a play-in game, and then you go from there. From Lee, I don't think we have to say co-champions. Champions is good enough. Kansas doesn't need to use co. I don't think Kansas, of course, just has owned the Big 12 with 20 of 26. And it's not that they've when I say Kansas has won 20 of 26 men's basketball championships in the Big 12 regular season, I'm not going to say that 5 of them were shared. They're champions 20 times out of 26. We know the story. So, again, Billy, I understand what you're trying to say, or maybe I've completely misunderstood what you were trying to say. By the way, Steven Snook out of Ohio, Major League Baseball televised the entire Shriners Children's Baseball Classic. Steven texted me a couple of different times. Loves a couple of the players he saw with Baylor, but that was a very nice win, no question, when they did beat LSU last night.
Hopefully this is a boon for college baseball. I doubt it will be, but I'm not trying to be negative there. Just the reality of the situation. But
college baseball has a pretty damn good base. It's not men's basketball and it's not football, but college baseball has a pretty damn good base.
Yeah, but it's fallen into being a niche kind of a thing.
Yeah, if Major League Baseball doesn't want to play, I'll watch more college baseball if it's available. I'm not sure how much I'll watch, but I will. At least it will be some sort of an option.
It's big in certain parts of the country. I don't know if it's got enough around it to be super popular in the same way that basketball and football are. But, with an absence of Major League Baseball, it certainly doesn't hurt. It's going to be a game where not every baseball fan's going to enjoy it when they hear the ping of the metal bat. There'll be purists who don't like that. And so some just can't ever probably get up fully on board with college baseball. But I think it's a fun sport. You look at the College World Series last year and how much excitement there was for that. You look at some of the crowds around the country. Look at the crowd for Texas LSU this weekend. Look at, various games last year. You think of Mississippi State, you think of A&M and whatnot. It's a fun sport. It's a really fun sport, but they don't have a lot in terms of major star power, the way that a lot of other sports do, where you can kind of pinpoint, those are the guys. There's a couple maybe, but the MLB draft's not as popular as the NFL or NBA draft, so you don't get your arms wrapped around these prospects as much as you would a wide receiver at Alabama or a point guard at Kansas. Whereas, there was what was the Vanderbilt pitcher's name? They actually had a couple, but, we learned guys like that, but you turn on a typical college baseball game, I don't think most people know who's on the field.
Yeah, Leiter and Rocker last year.
Leiter and Rocker is who I was trying to think of, but outside of that, I couldn't probably name most of the All-Americans last year, but I could probably name a good chunk of the baseball and football ones, but it's a good time for them. Hopefully they can take full advantage of what fans are missing baseball-wise, but I don't expect it to be some huge boon for them.
Mike Bean, by the way, I think Billy just wants to know who the number 1 seed is. It's Kansas.
It's Kansas.
Hey, by the way, last week I had a pretty traumatizing week when it comes to Batman being released and all that story. I went over the weekend. I went to Armstrong. Do you have this available? Over the weekend, do you?
The one you sent, I couldn't get it.
Oh shoot! You just ruined it. There's the punchline.
Well,
all right. Why not? Well, let's work on it during the break. Okay?
Yeah, I'll work on it.
Really sucks when somebody stops in your punchline.
Oh, I know.
Sucks.
At 4 o'clock. What?
Really just sucks when that happens.
What?
When somebody steps all over your punchline. Happens to me 20 times a week, but it's okay.
Oh, there's a little sensitivity
there.
There? Well, why don't you, put it up?
Well, once it's over, it's over,
All right. You tell me the next time I do, or whoever.
Can we get a little scorecard?
Wow. Are you Billy Jameson?
Yeah, I am
on the chat room?
I am a little bit.
All right. When we come back, more on the men's basketball tournaments going on as well. In fact, some tournaments have already had their automatic qualifiers as those tournaments have wrapped up. And a couple of other notes when it comes to the NFL Combine. Kalyn Barnes will join us today at 5:15. Baylor's Kalyn Barnes, who now, of course, ran that crazy 4.23 on Sunday at the NFL Combine, Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. The city of Woodway, if you drive or you come, however you get to Waco and you need to spend a night or more, when you come to see whatever you're looking for, including what they have with the silos in Magnolia, maybe balconies, maybe it's to see something else in the city of Waco or somewhere near here. They have 7 hotels in Woodway for you to use, for you to spend the night, and, of course, have the amenities that you want. They also have, of course, the Carling Bright Arboretum, where you can host special events, galas and banquets and fundraisers, and maybe more, and they can seat up to 360 people inside a beautiful facility with gorgeous views and landscaping. And on top of that, if you want to bring a caterer in, you don't have to go through some checklist. You can bring the caterer who you want to help serve whatever the number of people at this specific event. It's the city of Woodway. Go to discoverwoodway.com.
1, 2.
I'm in love with a man named Rudy. I'm okay with that. He knows exactly what I want. He keeps me coming back. He cooks breakfast, lunch, and dinner for me. Does the dishes too. I'm in love with a man named Rudy, last name Barbecue. It sure is easy to fall in love with Rudy's tasty oak smoked barbecue.
Next in line.
Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like First Free Checking, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
This is Sikkim 365 Radio. Text us at 254-339-1122. The Sikkim 365 Radio text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
All right, this 3 o'clock hour, we're loaded with guests from 4 o'clock all the way until 6. Scott Drew at the top of the hour at 4. We did not get into this because I'm trying to make Armstrong wait. But North Carolina went into Cameron Indoor and bludgeoned the Dukes. Just beat them up a second half. I was watching Baylor at, a lot of things going on. I think maybe been watching Kansas and Texas and at the Baylor game. I mean, they went in and ruined what to me was the most over-exaggerated exit of anyone I've ever seen in my life as a player and or coach. And I'm a Coach K guy. I'm okay with him. Always thought, Duke got close and they couldn't win it. I know Baylor fans can't stand them because of 2010. I get that too. A lot of people don't like them, but they're damn good. Man, they ruined that weekend. They went in and just crushed the souls of the Dukies.
If you were going to make a propaganda film about Duke and you wanted to make sure that you could say all the great things, you would just have to film the entrances of the 96 former players. Look, there's Cherokee Parks and Christian Laettner and Nolan Smith and Shane Battier and Trajan Langdon. Jerry Seinfeld's here.
I'm okay with all the celebrities or former players.
But for that to be, for UNC to win on what was an orgiastic feast of Duke porn,
that's a good point.
For their fans, had to be great. Had to be great.
Then there was a post-game celebration, or at least they tried to be. And Coach K was not in the mood for that at all. He was so pissed. Well, we're going to have Adam Lucas. Is that right? That's who his name is? Adam Lucas, who writes for North Carolina. And he tells a story about something that happened in the post after the game over near the North Carolina locker room that he had to help a family get in through security. That was fantastic. The handshake line.
Oh, my God.
My God. Juwan Howard and the coach at Wisconsin, Garb, like Duke assistant coaches, did not want to do that. They were not happy.
Yeah, Armstrong, I'm sure you enjoyed this thoroughly, didn't you?
Oh, yeah. This is absolutely beautiful. I mean, like you're saying, all the former players, like everyone who's ever been good for Duke basketball is in the building. Most expensive ticket in college basketball history.
Since the Super Bowl.
And, all this stuff, just Coach K, ESPN's Coach K Love Fest all day on TV. The pregame stuff.
Not all day. All week.
All season.
It was, yes.
All season. And, this is the game. And for unranked North Carolina to come in and it was the second largest upset, I think it said, since 1990. Because North Carolina was it was like 11-point underdog. And to just win by 13 points and just embarrass them. And the last thing Coach K does ever in Cameron Indoor as a head coach is get on the mic after losing to North Carolina and apologize to the fans. So, But also, I have a problem with the way Duke did it. I mean, I feel bad for the Duke players.
How about
some
the
of them
seniors?
are senior night?
Yeah, did they ever get mentioned?
I have no idea, but like this is your senior night. You're the players, and you put all this pressure on you, and now you're going to be seen as the guys who lost it for Coach K. When it should never really have been about Coach K. It should have been about the players.
I don't know for sure if that happened, but I did see a column in which apparently there are 2 or 3 seniors, and that they basically they could have been in the crowd. That it was, and it's not, I don't think it's Coach K's fault. And then again, maybe the retirement before the season, we see that with athletes and others before. I don't know.
You can't, there's no way to say that it was him personally intentionally drawing attention to him, but when you announce you're going to retire before the season, I mean.
Oh, you're going to get like a pair of boots when you go to Wake Forest
so there's definitely a reason to do that. But I mean, you can't say anything that Coach K asked for it, you know?
I mean, it's a great win for North Carolina. I mean, it doesn't get much sweeter than that unless it would have been for a national title or something. But that was pretty sweet if you're a Tar Heel fan. And, you know, Coach K, I'm not one of those that, like, gushes over him. You know, some people fawn over Coach K. And, you know, I grew up in the heart of, you know, Duke's glory, but I never went that way. I never, you know, jumped on that Duke bandwagon. I've just always kind of, you know, admired or whatnot from afar. Same thing with programs like North Carolina and others. But, you know, I obviously understand his impact and how big he's been to the game of basketball, especially in college. And so, you know, the pomp and circumstance and all the fare from ESPN was not surprising. They do that for people, you know, on occasion or people like him, big legends. You know, we saw it with Kobe. We saw it with others in their, you know, farewells. Dirk, I don't think really enjoyed it probably as much as others, but I mean, we've seen the whole announce before you do it retirement tour. So yeah, what a sour note. Sucks if you're a Duke fan. I mean, I don't relate. So I mean, that was brutal, and you could tell by all the tears all over social media on Saturday, whether it was clips from the game or actual Duke fans crying through their keyboards, which was obvious by some of the messages some of them were leaving. That was a brutal loss for that fan base. So tough deal, and the complete opposite feeling for North Carolina fans out there, and that's the rivalry. That's, you know, Duke was going to get their big fairy tale moment, and then the big bad Tar Heels were there to spoil it, and they spoiled it and ruined the happy ending. But, you know, Duke's season's not over. Still, though, that was a punch in the gut.
They won the regular season title. Theo John played 10 minutes. He's a senior. Somebody on the chat room said none of the Baylor or Duke seniors play much. Mike Jones, it shouldn't matter. They should still be recognized on senior night, whether they're at the end of the bench and never get up off the bench. But he played 10 minutes.
Hubert Davis didn't substitute in the second half, which is unbelievably amazing that he was able to do that. And secondarily, you know, there's this kind of, I don't know, internet chatter going around that Duke is a little mad that UNC didn't do anything for Coach K when they played there earlier this year, which I don't really believe, because why would you expect that? I do think that, you know, Mariano Rivera's and Chipper Jones's like baseball retirement tours a few years ago made people think like, oh, that's what you should do, because the Red Sox gave Mariano Rivera a rocking chair made out of the bats he broke, which is a nice gesture, but it's also kind of a smart ass thing to do. You know, gave him a rocking chair. It's fine, and that's what they did. But I promise you, in college athletics, it's a lot different. Nobody at UNC is sad that Coach K is retiring.
Of course not.
No. Why should they? Thanks for the memories? No.
So what about a senior football? Of course, we don't know who seniors are anymore because of the extra year. And I even saw what good news for Nikki Collin in the women's program that Caitlin Bickle and Jamie Asbury are both coming back for another year. I do know this. In college, it does seem to be different. I don't know how many did Roy Williams, he didn't have a farewell tour. He retired after the season was over. That was even kind of, maybe there was whispers of it, but he just was gone, right?
No, that was just out of the blue, gone. And he announced it on April Fool's Day, and everyone thought he was kidding.
Joking, yeah. And I'm not saying I'm trying to think of other college coaches that we had some sort of farewell tour, and I'm sure there have been some. I just can't think of any.
Well, and how many are on the level of Coach K?
Well, maybe
there's like
5,
a Bobby
7.
Knight, Dean Smith. There's like very few of those guys. I don't have a problem with the retirement announcement. whatsoever. I mean, if that's what you choose to, it's your career, your life. Do whatever you want to do. Like, I mean, who cares? And if anything, if you had a problem with it, then laugh at it now that he lost his big finale, and you can crack on that. That's the double-edged sword of announcing it prior to actually doing it. But I don't think it's a big deal. He did an announcement prior.
Mike Bean, and then we'll have Scott Drew in the next segment. Do notice at Kansas, nobody who you no matter who you are, starter or walk-on, you start on senior day. Did not see that with Duke because, as you mentioned, Theo John played 10 minutes and there may have been another senior or two. Baylor women, even though they're going to beat Tech by 20 or 25 or whatever, the seniors started. The ones, even a couple of them have decided that they're coming back for another year. So that's one of the things. And, I know it's going to be a tough, emotional game. And I got lost in the shuffle. I'm a Coach K guy. Always like Duke over North Carolina. When, again, as a kid, you like either USC or UCLA, Michigan or Ohio State, Texas or Oklahoma, right? That's kind of Florida State.
I was the opposite.
Yeah, and so some love North Carolina, but I always loved James Worthy and Michael Jordan among some others. So there's never anger towards either one of them, but you just kind of pick one of those or the other. Celtics, Lakers, right, Paul? Now, when we come back, Scott Drew, announced as the Big 12 Coach of the Year, gets a share of the Big 12 regular season title with Kansas. And this happened in warp speed the last 2 or 3 weeks. And we'll discuss that with Scott Drew, men's basketball coach at Baylor, next on Sikkim 365 Radio. Ideal MRI, Dr. Rob Maxey and his staff can help find out what hurts you so much when it comes to your shoulder, your knee, or whatever muscle or ligament might be damaged, torn, ripped, or whatever. That's what they do, and they do it well because they have a state-of-the-art technology MRI machine that is phenomenal. I've been in it 3 different times. Once on my shoulder, once for my abdomen, and there's another time I just went in there and just kind of let them know the people, the great people, the Texan specialists who are there inside Ideal MRI, inside the Central Texas Marketplace on I-35 and just on the access road on Highway 6 and Loop 340. Ideal MRI will save you hundreds, maybe thousands of dollars. $497 or less every single time. Average is $1,100, not there, but around the country for an MRI. So you do the math. Every time or less. They'll help you with insurance. It doesn't take long to get an appointment, and when you're there, you're not in a big room with about 50 other people. And they will also be flexible with their hours of when they can give you an MRI based on your schedule. IdealMRI.com.
Jeep Celebration is going on now at Allen Samuels. Come see the newest Grand Cherokee, the new 2022 available in a 2-row or a family favorite, the 3-row Model L. Jeep re-engineered for the future. The Grand Cherokee is ready for the next great adventure. Are you? Find legendary power and confidence, along with head-turning style, is what Grand Cherokee is. First responders get a $500 discount. Shop Allen Samuels, DCJ.com, or come in and see our huge selection of brand new cars and trucks.
Come by. Let's be friends.
Don Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don Humidor in the Townwest Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
You know what would make this moment better? Pizza. Dough made from scratch and an Italian family sauce recipe pizza. 3 fresh signature cheeses making a melty blanket of perfection pizza. Like loads of premium toppings like crispy Old World pepperoni, savory Italian sausage, and fresh sliced veggies pizza. That's Marco's Pizza. Visit marcos.com and make any moment better. And with 4 locations in Waco, Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to open in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Baylor Scott and White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott and White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
It's plain and simple. Waco Custom Marketplace is the one-stop shop for what you need for tailgating, from charcoal, cold beer, and wine. And, of course, customize your order with brisket, tri-tip, sausage, wings, smoked pork tenderloin, country-style or pork spare ribs, marinated beef and chicken fajita meat, ground beef and chili, meat, hot dogs, and burgers, buns, seasoning, sauces, chips. There's fresh baked bread and kolaches every day, breakfast sausage links. And you can also customize your favorite cut of steaks from Select, Choice, or Prime, bacon wrap fillets, ribeyes, New York strip, sirloin, T-bone, and porterhouse. Full service butcher shop includes pork, poultry, beef, chicken, and seafood, serving Waco restaurants and families since 1940. Your one-stop shop for beef, pork, poultry, and seafood needs. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Automatic Chef Canteen is a full-service micro-market vending and office coffee provider with state-of-the-art vending equipment, a wide variety of products, and offering custom-fitted micro-market vending office coffee solutions for your employee break room. You want a full break room solution and a workplace oasis? Well, Automatic Chef Canteen, locally owned and operated for over 50 years in Central Texas, also includes in-house mechanics on call 24/7 for fast, reliable service and maintenance. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchefcanteen.com.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Kendall Brown, the lob, freshman, and Jeremy Sohan with his first bucket.
This segment on Baylor Athletics on Sikkim 365 Radio is brought to you by Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac. Learn more at richardcarr.com.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
Baylor men's basketball coach, national championship head coach, and now three-time Big 12 Coach of the Year, Scott Drew, Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. Wow, 3 in a row.
Well, that means you have a lot of great players. You have a great staff, administration, fan support. So we call them team awards because head coaches only get those when everything else is working.
Does it make it even better or more satisfying that it's voted on by your peers?
I can tell you, you respect the other coaches you compete against, and you respect how they do their job, and you understand the toughness of their job. So when preseason polls come out or postseason accolades come out, you do appreciate whenever you would get named or your players get named, because you know those coaches know what they're talking about. Now, I know sometimes politics come into play, and that's why the media polls sometimes are a little bit different too, and different opinions. But I can tell you that we have great coaches, and I know they do a great job in being thoughtful. And I mean, like John being co-defensive player of the year just speaks volumes to them and what they not only appreciate with John, but also understand just how an injury cut his season short, but out of respect for him, didn't take him out of the running for that ballot. So that really meant a lot too.
Scott, do you feel like, as far as Coach of the Year, and then, of course, we'll get to the Big 12 tournament, and also the fact that you are, yet again, the Big 12 champion in the regular season, could it be because you had this team with 4 players who left, 3 in the NBA, 1 in the NFL, or is it because you reinvented yourself, you think, down the stretch?
Well, I think one thing our coaches have done a great job always is rewarding winning. And sometimes players put up numbers, but the teams don't win, and you can tell it's more about them than the team. And I think the Big 12 coaches really appreciate winning and those players that put the team first. And so I think, first of all, us doing well is why our players and our staff got recognized. At the same time, I think during the year, everyone faces different challenges, and obviously we face more challenges this year than we had in previous years. I saw an analytical stat about percentages of players injured and out, and we were obviously number one in the Big 12 with during the year losing key guys for games.
Mm-hmm. Is there any similarities, even though different reasons, that you enter this tournament this year with what is focused? Last year you entered, you kind of needed I know Oklahoma State got you, and it ended up being the best thing, not losing, but it gave you a couple of days before you went into a different bubble. This time you have so many minutes compiled because of the numbers that you're going to. Is there any similarity to how you handle this tournament to last year? Not that you're trying to lose a game?
Right. Yeah. I think you understand the big picture, and the big picture is that this conference tournament isn't the end of your season, so you have to look beyond that. At the same time, you look at each and every opportunity, and you come up with a game plan to be successful. And with last year, again, we came up with whatever game plan we thought gave us the best chance to win the Big 12 tournament. We're going to do the exact same thing this year, but at the same time, I think as a head coach, you got to look at 20,000 feet, not just at the next game. And you got to know, after this tournament, we do have the NCAA tournament, and so you can't put yourself in harm's way for this tournament that would affect the other tournament, meaning like practice time leading up to this tournament. We got to keep getting better each and every day, but we can't tap ourselves out for the next two opportunities we have.
That it appears, based on all the bracketologies and all that, you're a number one seed. Do you feel like you've done enough to be a number one seed, not just now, but do you feel like no matter what happens in Kansas City, you're a number one seed even afterwards?
Well, we win that tournament, then I don't think there's any argument. If we don't win it, I can definitely present a case that I think a lot of people would listen to, especially from the standpoint, the criteria that net rating looks at and what the NCAA committee always stresses to the college's schedule, a great non-conference control, which you can control, and we've done that. We've won games in that. So I think either way we can argue that, but we're going to Kansas City with the hopes to win in that tournament. There's definitely challenges. There's only been one team in Texas to win the Big 12 tournament, and especially in Kansas City. Iowa State, Kansas State have a huge home court advantage. Those games will all be sold out with their fans, and we know how our fans affect our games here. So you have challenges, and that's the beauty of the NCAA tournament. It's more neutral crowds or top seeds get home court advantage, so you earn that. But it's the Big 12 tournament prepares you for the NCAA tournament, just how it's all conducted and how it's run, and that'll be really important for our guys to take advantage of and gain experience, because we have a lot of them that this will be the first time in that type of environment and format. The first time you get the police escort to the game, the first time you do all the post-game media and whatnot. And I think that really helps all the Big 12 teams come NCAA tournament time.
When you look at where you were when you were 15-0 before the injuries started to mount up, and now where you are with how you're playing now, which was a better team?
Well, obviously you're always going to take more over less.
Yes.
I think our margin of error is less now. Injuries, foul trouble, illness, anything, a bad night. And when you have more depth, that's more weapons, however you want to say it. When you go to the bench and someone comes in and they go, when LJ comes in and he's your leading scorer, that's a great option off the bench.
Sure.
You know, when John comes in and he's the co-defensive player of the year, that's a great option off the bench. Jeremy won 6th man of the year. That's a great So now you just don't have some of those options, or you haven't had some of them, and it puts that much more pressure on everyone else to not have one of those 2 for 12 games, because when you do, it's not like you can sub someone in and shorten that 2 for 12 to make it 2 for 5.
When did you come up with Jeremy Sohan playing the 5? What was that like in the middle of the night? Was that at a team meeting? Was that with your coaches? When did that happen?
Well, Jeremy's somebody that had played the center in high school, had some experience with that, and it's a situation too where a lot of people in the league have downsized. It started with Draymond Green, the Golden State Warriors. Mark Vidal played the 5 for us. So sometimes it's matchups as well, but we knew that was definitely an option for us, and Jeremy's done a great job taking advantage of that, and Flo's done a great job staying out of foul trouble, and it takes a team to win. I mean, every day in practice, Zach helps get those guys ready, and if Zach's number's called on, we know he'll do a good job as well.
Scott, this team with your youth, with Sohan and then Kendall and what they've done, there always is like probably a little bit of push, but it seems like, again, it's just been, these are the players who you recruit. They have to be good. You mentioned this to me before. There has to be ego because they're being recruited by Baylor and others. But how do you know? How do you know when you're going to recruit somebody that they're going to fit the culture, and how deep do you have to go to make sure?
Great question. I can tell you, it's anyone that ever invests in the stock market. I mean, you do your research, you do your due diligence, but at the end of the day, only God knows the future. And I think with the recruiting, it's the same thing. We put a lot of prayer into who God wants us to have, and we've really been blessed with. We put all the. I mean, at the end of the day, each program looks for different things, and our staff knows things that we value, and because we value them, other people might not value them as much. It doesn't make it always work out, but we've really been blessed where guys have come in, they fit our culture, but they've gotten better being here. And if you have players that are good fits, that you like spending time with, that are talented, but also keep improving, players do things for each other that they don't do for coaches and others. So, I mean, it's really important that them fitting the culture and getting along with one another. Iron sharpens iron, making each other better. Because we've all been in workplaces where you really don't sometimes like everybody, or I wish this person wasn't here. And then when they're gone, it's so much better and you're so much more cohesive. And that's why putting together a team is the exact same way. You could have a really talented player, but if it makes everybody else worse, it's not worth it.
You know, this conference, I mentioned you as Coach of the Year in the Big 12, the third consecutive year. This conference is loaded. You have a Hall of Fame coach, 2 of them, I think. And then you have what Mark Adams did at Tech, TJ, what he did at Iowa State. Yeah. There's a reason some are elsewhere. How much do you guys, as the players push each other, the programs push each other, but how impressive is the group of coaches in this conference?
Well, I can tell you, our staff, when we came in, we learned so much competing against the Rick Barnes, the Bob Knights, the Eddie Suttons, the Kelvin Sampsons, and everybody else in the league, and that makes you better at what you do. And each and every year, the Big 12 has brought in great coaches to run the program, so you learn and you adapt as we all do. I mean, in technology, if you don't learn the next iPhone, you're right. So you're constantly upgrading and trying to adapt to what other people do. And again, you have what makes the Big 12 so tough is not only the environments and administration and the talented players, but so many coaches that have been to the Final Four, had postseason success, and you gotta constantly try to improve and get better, because if not, you get left behind.
Scott Drew again with us, Sikkim 365 Radio. How about the confetti weekend with what you were able to celebrate Saturday? The Nikki in her first year, the way that team came back from being in a little bit of a ditch, and then they get to celebrate.
Yeah, big weekend. And I tell you, you talk about Baylor University, Central Texas. I mean, Baylor to be the first program to win all three in the Big 12, the football championship, men's and women's basketball. I mean, that says a lot for the Baylor family, boosters, alumni, fans, but also President Livingstone, Mac Rhodes, our administration. What a great job they're doing. What a great job media and everyone, because it takes a team to win. Everything does matter, as our athletic director, Mac Rhodes, likes to say, and it's so true. Everybody plays a part in it. So excited that we kept the cleanup crews really busy this weekend in the Farrell Center. And I remember Perry Jones, when he came back his sophomore year, one of the big reasons he came back was he wanted confetti, and it was great. His dad was at the game the other day, and we won, and we made sure we brought a bag back of confetti for Perry, little Perry, so he could give it to him, because we did that with the last championship as well. But again, all the past players, they all contributed to this, and everybody loves celebrations. Everyone loves confetti, and takes everyone working together to make that happen.
You mentioned past players. I have to ask you about Tweedy and King and practicing a little bit against your guys and how they come back to sharpen the iron. How intense can that be, and how much joy do you take from them wanting to be so involved in helping even right now?
Well, a lot of our players are still playing, so they don't have the opportunity to come back. But he's season finished up, and obviously King with ESPN, and King's got to continually work out because he's got to stay looking sharp for TV. So when those guys come back, and whenever they practice, though, it's always a blessing for our young guys to learn from them and compete against them. But again, they do it because they love our current players. They love the university, and that's part of what makes the program so special. Because like Davion was playing the Mavs. I mean, he didn't have to drive an hour and a half to come over, an hour and 45 minutes to see the guys, and yet he does that. And I know it makes our day. It's my parents were just here this weekend, and I know they say kids are great, but they love grandkids. And I think our past players coming back, it's kind of like grandkids. We love whenever they come around, our past players, and it's such joy for our staff. But the fact of what they pour into our current athletes makes a huge difference, and they understand it's bigger than just when they're here now, but it's Baylor University and the future and the program.
Thank you very much, Scott. Congratulations on the championship. Also, the Coach of the Year, Scott Drew, Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports.
Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac, the people that you can count on here in Central Texas. They have a ton of deals going on right now over at Richard Carr. Both premium, pre-owned, and new cars and trucks are arriving daily over at Richard Carr, and they have the customer service and prices that you are looking for, whether it's an SUV or it's a used car. Richard Carr has a lot of different options for you, and right now they want you to get on that priority inbound list. That priority inbound list means that as soon as the car or truck that you identified and picked out that you want to buy arrives on the lot, they will give you a phone call. It'll be first come, first serve. Get your new car or truck as they arrive on the lot and get 0% financing for 72 months for qualified buyers. They've got the GMC Sierras, available 277 horsepower engine, best-in-class cargo bed volume, head and leg room, luxury interior and ride that compares to a luxury sedan, amongst much more. Richard Carr has Sierras in stock with more on the way. And again, right now, get 0% for 72 months for qualified buyers. They also have a bevy of SUVs to select from, 11 different SUV models from GMC, Buick, and Cadillac, plus dozens of trim options. Richard Carr is a one-stop shop to find that perfect SUV for your needs, whether it's a Buick Encore or a Cadillac Escalade. Richard Carr has SUVs starting at $24K. And they're also loaded with premium pre-owned cars and trucks, as I mentioned earlier. Each pre-owned goes through a 172-point inspection before hitting the lot, and they have over 10 lenders who do what it takes to get you into a car today. So go online or come by for a test drive. And trust the good local people you can count on for over 20 years in Central Texas. Proud Wacoans, proud Baylor Bears. Log on to richardcarr.com today. Call now or go see them now off Highway 6 at the Imperial exit.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717 or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Brad Boozer, Boozer's Jeweler, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive. It's a staple of the Waco economy. And you're about to approach this time of the year where you have the holidays, special gifts. It's not that you don't have that every single day. What are some of the things you have coming up?
You know, we kind of call ourselves the Wedding Ring Store. We do all of our own custom work in-house. I've got 2 expert jewelers on staff every day. We can make anything from scratch. We kind of pride ourselves, probably 9 out of 10 every engagement ring we do is actually made custom to what the customer wants.
People look at that, oh my God, I can't afford it. I can't afford something like that. You've shown me examples that you could fit pretty much any budget.
It doesn't cost any more to custom make something. You still have gold, you still have diamonds, and you still have labor. Best thing about a custom piece is if you have any old jewelry or heirloom jewelry or something passed down from a grandma or somebody, we can take that jewelry and use it towards your wedding ring for the sentimental value, and then you've got the product, and then it's just a little bit of labor and a little bit of design on your part of what you actually want.
You want to know why they're successful? Brad Boozer, the owner of Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air in Waco.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Adam Lucas, Heel Report, will join us here momentarily. He wrote an article, what you didn't see from Saturday's win was even better than what you did see when it came to North Carolina and Duke. He'll join us here momentarily, goheels.com. And it's pretty neat, a background story throughout the week on Hubert Davis, all the way through leading up to the game, because it was kind of this foregone conclusion. Duke will win, Coach K's last game, celebrate, good night. And you go back to Chapel Hill. And that's not the way it worked out at all. And so Adam Lucas will join us. He wrote a great story. I sent it to Paul, Craig, Armstrong. Armstrong, of course, our resident North Carolina fan. Adam Lucas joins us now on Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Pretty busy day. What a great story, and the way you summarize, Adam, I read it. I sent it out to some of the guys on staff who are going to be a part of the show. And are they still on Cloud 9 in Chapel Hill? I know North Carolina's won basketball games before, but is there a kind of a special Cloud 9 right now still in Chapel Hill?
I think the entire nation's still on Cloud 9 other than about 2 square miles in Durham. Yeah, I mean, that was a special win. Of course, Carolina and Duke are going to play again, and those two teams are used to always knowing that you're going to see each other again. Don't get too high, but you're never going to have Mike Krzyzewski's last game in Cameron that has made into the World Series, Super Bowl, and Second Coming all on one Saturday night and win that game. That'll never go away. And so it's been a pretty enjoyable 48 hours.
Adam, they didn't sub in the second half. All these things that they did, was there just an attitude going in that, hey, we're going to wreck this thing for Coach K?
I think it was less about Coach K and more about just playing better than the Tar Heels did in the first meeting. I think Carolina felt like that wasn't a representative performance, that they didn't compete at the level Duke competed. And most of the message in practice, Carolina's previous last game was on Monday, so they had almost the whole week. And the message in practice was just, you've got to compete better for 40 full minutes and see what happens. And that's what they did, and it felt like Duke sort of gave in a little bit the last couple minutes. And so those 40 minutes of competing paid off.
Adam, what kind of an atmosphere was that like to be a part of?
It was real quiet there at the end. I like that part the best. I mean, it was a circus, but everybody knew it was going to be a circus. I think some people were surprised when Carolina ran out of the tunnel rather than the Washington Generals, because I think everybody was expecting the Washington Generals. Certainly Duke was, because they clearly had no contingency plan for what was going to happen if they lost the game. And so that's fun. I mean, that's what you want to play in. If you come to North Carolina, you want to play in those types of games. Roy Williams always used to say that the absolute greatest weapon you could ever have as a coach is a talented team that you can persuade that they're the underdog. And that's what it felt like happened on Saturday.
There's a quote early on in your story. Adam Lucas joins us again on Sikkim 365 Radio. After Hubert Davis and Carolina beat Syracuse, I'm going to tell you something. We're not going over there for a party. We're not going over there to be a part of some festivities. We are going over there to play a game, and we're going to play. There's no question that they did that. Also, Carolina, it seemed like recently, Adam, was kind of on the tightrope of being a bubble team or in the tournament. They pretty much have destroyed that problem, right?
If the Tar Heels are on the bubble, I don't know how they're going to find 64 teams to play in that event. Carolina's won 12 of the last 14. They've got one of the best road wins in the entire country this season. I mean, I think that storyline, I hope, is over with, and now hopefully we can look forward to a fun ACC tournament right there in the cradle of the ACC up there in Brooklyn.
No, I think I'm saying yeah, in Brooklyn. I was talking about at one point this year there was a little bit like, hey, what's going to happen here? But they have turned the Jets on and obviously emphatically did what they did at Duke. Paul?
Adam, I know that there was some scuttlebutt that Duke fans were mad, or Duke was mad that UNC didn't, send him a Valentine when they came to Chapel Hill. I don't know how much that is more scuttlebutt or true, but is there, to that end though, is there a sense among fans though that they'll miss that part of the rivalry at all? I wouldn't think that there would be.
I don't think miss it is the way I would put it. I did see that our good friend Gerald Henderson said that the Tar Heels didn't have any class because they didn't give Coach K a rocking chair or whatever. So if there's anybody I want giving their opinion on class, it's the guy who punched the Carolina player in the face during the course of the game. That's certainly the one I want to hear from. And the fact of the matter is that's just simply not true. Carolina did honor Mike Krzyzewski before that game. They took a picture with Mike Krzyzewski, Hubert Davis, Roy Williams, and John Shire all together. They put it on the video board. They said, this is Mike Krzyzewski's 42nd or whatever it is and last trip to Chapel Hill, and put that picture on the Smith Center video board. So I guess that wasn't enough. But as we all know, and as I'm sure you guys know and heard on ESPN, it's not about Mike Krzyzewski. Look, he didn't want this at all. Right. Retiring a whole 12 months in advance, He had no idea anybody would ever mention it. And if you believe that, then the cradle of the ACC really is in Brooklyn.
Adam, how big of a deal was that for Hubert Davis, and what was he like in the postgame?
He was just really proud of his team. I mean, they competed better than they have in some other games this year against really good teams. I mean, you've seen the scores. The Tar Heels didn't play well against Kentucky. They didn't play well against Tennessee. They didn't play well at Wake Forest earlier this year. And so I think he was just really satisfied that his team finally put a solid 40 minutes together against a really good team on the road in the national spotlight. And I think also kind of lost in all this is that he coached a really good game. I mean, he managed that game well. He managed Armando Bacot's foul situation very well, which is a key indicator for Carolina. They have to have him on the floor. His game plan with the high ball screens with Armando, really the Duke defense struggled with that. And the way he arranged the defensive matchups to get the matchups he wanted when Duke was on offense really helped the Tar Heels. And so he coached a really good game. Does that mean he's a better coach than Mike Krzyzewski? Of course not. You got to do it for 40 years. But on that one night, he had a great game plan, and his team executed it really well.
Adam, can you maybe compare and contrast the way Roy Williams went out of his career and Coach K?
Have you ever seen The Sun and the Moon? Or are you familiar with Light and Dark? I mean, Roy Williams went out his last game at the Smith Center, kissed center court, kind of in the middle of all the, the usual post-game commotion, and everybody's kind of tapping each other on the knee if they even saw it, and saying, hey, what did he just do? Did he just kiss center court? What does that mean? And then the other gentleman had a big press conference, danced to some song at the press conference. And then since then, we've had 9 months of everybody telling us how he's the greatest thing in the world, but of course it's not about him. So I think two pretty different approaches, but I think also two approaches that are pretty symbolic of both of their personalities.
For those who have not read the story, and again, I thought it was really brilliantly written, Adam, to kind of summarize, or actually the entire, from the lead up to the game to after the game. Will you share the story about Coach K's family and back inside the bowels of Cameron Indoor and Hubert Davis helping them at a time when they were trying to get to where they wanted to go?
Sure. You have to kind of be familiar with Cameron. Don't think of a big arena like your listeners might be thinking of, a modern arena. This is much more similar, and I don't mean this in an offensive way, to more like a high school gym where there's maybe one or two ways in or out and very limited access. And so after the game, there's all the post-game hubbub as per usual. And Coach K's family, including several of his daughters, were trying to get through to the court because the post-game ceremony was taking place on the court after the game. And to get there, you had to walk directly by the Carolina locker room. Well, they didn't have credentials because they probably don't need them. They're Mike Krzyzewski's family, but this particular security guard didn't recognize them and was trying to stop them and hold them back. And so Hubert Davis, who's about the same age as a couple of Coach K's daughters, so it wouldn't surprise me if they were maybe in school at the same time and maybe knew of each other. And certainly were familiar with each other from his work with Game Day when, of course, they were in Durham all the time. He went up to the security guard and said, hey, this is Mike Krzyzewski's family. They've got to get to the court. I understand they don't have credentials, but you need to let them through. It's very important that they get through. And so, what else is the security guard going to do in that situation? He said, come right through. And so they did, and on the ceremony went.
Surprised he didn't have some sort of card with their faces on it.
Yeah. Or just
referred to.
Yeah. Or just remembered him.
I was surprised they didn't just blow by. I mean, as all of you guys know who did the games, if you just walk confidently, 97% of the time you can go anywhere you want to, anywhere in America. But I think they were a little stunned at that point in time.
How does this win compare to other wins at Duke for Carolina? Like, for instance, the win at J.J. Redick's senior night. How does this compare?
Yeah, that's the most comparable one, I think. But I think the thing about that one was that was just the culmination of a 4-year Duke career for J.J. Redick and Sheldon Williams, who had become the face of college basketball. And Carolina had this young team, Tyler Hansbrough and Danny Green, and it was going to eventually be one of the best teams in Carolina history by 2009 when they won the national title. But similar amounts of, there's no way Carolina could go into Cameron and win this game. So it had that same type of feel, with the difference being that this wasn't just a 4-year senior culmination. This was a 40-year culmination of essentially the person who is Duke basketball and has made himself the embodiment of Duke basketball. So you're not just beating 2022 Duke. You're not just beating A.J. Griffin and Mark Williams and those guys. You're beating the full embodiment of Duke and leaving them with a loss that'll be there forever. And that's something that Carolina fans will forever hold in the Carolina-Duke rivalry, which the Carolina and Duke fans are always looking for that one-up. And this is one-up that will never go away. There'll never be another last game over there unless they manage to somehow figure out a way for him to coach against, Meredith College or something next year, which wouldn't rule it out. But for now, that's the one-up that'll never go away.
Adam, I heard from some sources that you almost got thrown out of the game. Is that correct?
I was inside of Cameron the entire night, and I love all those folks over in Durham, and they do a great job. Certainly, they're trying to do their best all the time. Sometimes they might be a little overzealous, but got to see the whole game and wouldn't have traded it for the entire world.
Armstrong, are you trying to get him in trouble, or are you trying to, maybe somebody missed something? What's going on with you?
I was just told to ask about.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Adam Armstrong comes from a North Carolina family.
Yes.
Even though he is a Baylor alum, so he is grown up bleeding Carolina blue.
Absolutely.
He was very excited to talk to you.
He's
today.
wearing the colors on his golf shirt today as well.
How long you say you've been reading him?
Oh, I've been reading him since I could read. I mean, yeah, I've been going to
Basically,
Carolina.
I'm ancient is what you're trying to say.
Yeah, that is what I'm trying to say. No.
Adam, he just called you old.
Yeah.
I'm not. Again, it's at Go Heels on Twitter, writes for them, at Carolina_pod, the co-host, and, of course, GoHeels.com as well. Paul, did you have one more for Adam?
Yeah, what is it like? I'm curious, too, if you just caught a glimpse of, Nolan Smith or Cherokee Parks or somebody in that moment of the loss, the players that were in that, the Duke All-Star game, whatever you want to call it, the Ocean's 11 of Duke games that came back. What was that like, seeing the players who all came back for this Coach K-Fest to watch their faces during that game?
It was hard to tell them apart because they all had on their matching Coach K uniforms with their Coach K shirts. They had covered up the Duke logo inside of Cameron with that exact same K logo. The box scores had the K logo on it. So it was hard to know who was there, who was a former player, and who was just another in-uniform K person. I did enjoy going back to watch the game, as I'm sure you guys noticed, that there was not allowed to be a made field goal in the game without ESPN cutting to the crowd to show us either Coach Krzyzewski's wife or a former player. And I really appreciated that at the moment when Jay Williams was frantically signaling for a timeout that never came. And I'm sure that Jay Williams got a very sternly worded phone call from the Duke basketball offices telling him they did not need his advice on when to call timeout. So I really enjoyed that part.
Man. Have you ever had a better 2 or 3 days of your life? I mean, it sounds like this is like better than a national championship or 10.
It's not quite better than a national championship, and the Tar Heels have been fortunate, as of course Baylor has, to win some of those. And so it's not quite like that. It's just different. National championship, most recently Carolina played Gonzaga, and it was hard to have a lot of built-up passion about Gonzaga other than you want to beat them to win the national title. I've been building up some passion for Duke since birth. So, imagine that your whole life leads up to one night on which you get to right all that is wrong with the world and make someone miserable who values themselves over pretty much anything in the world. And that's a pretty good night. And I don't know what's going to happen the rest of the season. And the fact is, Duke's still really good.
Yeah.
And I anticipate them to do really well in the NCAA tournament. But no matter what they do, Mike Krzyzewski's on a one-game eternal losing streak at Cameron Indoor Stadium, and that's never going to change.
Wow.
Gotta love rivalries.
Yeah.
Man.
All right, I'm going to ask you a question. You mentioned Baylor, and I know in the ACC, and we know the history, although the conference this year has been, with Duke and North Carolina. Notre Dame's on a pretty good run. But how much does that register or resonate in ACC country what Baylor's done? And of course, Kansas, everyone knows with Kansas and the Roy Williams connection. Plus, it's Kansas. They're a great tradition-rich power. How much does what Baylor's done even resonate in the ACC at all?
Well, I think it resonates a lot, and I think that's partially because they're really fun to watch play. I mean, they play the way that everybody here wants to play. They compete on every possession, and they defend, and they find creative ways to score, and they're not necessarily doing it with the 3 of the top 5 NBA draft picks like some folks around here are. I mean, they're coaching those guys and they're getting better and they're playing hard. And anytime you go in to play them, it's going to be a painful experience. And if you don't show up, they're going to embarrass you. And I think that's always the way that the ACC has prided its very best teams on playing. And so that's why teams like Baylor are fun to watch.
Thank you, Adam. Really good stuff, man. And thanks for your transparency, your enthusiasm. GoHeels.com, J.A. or J. Adams Lucas on Twitter, the letter J and Adam Lucas on Twitter. Thanks for your time. Enjoy the rest of the tournaments coming up and hopefully whatever run Carolina has in front of them.
Thanks, guys. Hopefully we don't run into the Bears because they're a really good team.
Thank you very much. North Carolina writer Adam Lucas. He has a really good backstory about leading up to it. At the end, Hubert Davis, he noted this. He doesn't curse. That has been well documented. The players cranked up a little Dirk.
Cranked up Lil Durk. It's not a Lil Durk. It's Lil Durk.
Players cranked up Lil Durk.
There you go.
Song on a speaker near the back of the bus. As they're driving away, it's pretty safe to bet that this was not a song on Davis's personal playlist, but there was a Tar Heel head coach grinning. And what did he say? Turn it up. Good for Hubert Davis going down that Lil Durk in a moment after the win against the Dukies.
I think every fan base should be jealous of UNC now that they get to have this moment, and most of you never will, because
can they play in the tournament? Could they not play in the ACC
but it's
tournament?
about being at Cameron
I know,
Indoor.
and it was Kay's like graduation party or whatever. Yeah.
So, but I just think of it this way: when Steve Spurrier left Florida, he left in the offseason and went to the Redskins. So none of the, like when I was still in school then, none of us got to enjoy that.
Yeah.
It was just like one day he was there and then he was gone, and there was got to beat him I think they did beat him in this last game, but even still, it wasn't the same.
No, it's different.
Will Duke still have as many fans as they have right now? Moving
T-shirt
forward.
fans?
Yeah. They're probably because they have to be one of the most rooted for teams in college basketball nationally. I mean, easily they have to be.
Talking about Duke?
Yeah.
They're also they're like the Cowboys. They're the most loved and hated.
That's what I'm saying. They're Yankees, Lakers, Cowboys, and if you're somebody who roots for all those teams, there's absolutely no real explanation for that. There's none. That's just such a homer thing. But they've become such a popular team for the last 30 years, really. And now that he's gone, I mean, do you see the fan base dwindle a little bit? I hadn't thought about that at all, but I mean, Coach K is Duke basketball. Well, they'll still be popular, but I can't imagine they're going to be as popular as they have been without him.
Well, I mean, think about how many T-shirt Cowboy fans have dwindled, percentage-wise.
They turned into Patriots fans.
Yeah, they moved on to the Patriots, so maybe the most whoever goes, like maybe Gonzaga gets some fans if they
all those Heat fans who are now Lakers fans because they were really just LeBron fans. Yeah. They were never really a team. Yeah, so there'll probably be some folks that jump ship, I would think.
You know why it's so special when the Cubs finally won a World Series, or the Red Sox finally won a World Series, or teams that Cleveland, whoever, whenever that time comes. I'm talking about the city of Cleveland. It's because so many fans are still fans of the original team that they loved when they were like born and bred or whatever. And now it just seems like fans just bounce around. And players have a lot. It's not, I think they follow players as much as they now follow teams.
That's what it is.
And I had some great years. No question my favorite teams in college and pro football or whatever. It's bad now.
I'll tell you this.
But hold on. Yeah. But it does seem like it's less and less of sticking with the same team through wins or losses than it is now.
I think Craig and I's generation was maybe not to knock the young guys, but we're the last generation that grew up on. For example, I'll just tell you, I love Wade Boggs and I loved Roger Clemens when they were with the Red Sox, and I love Johnny Damon. Johnny Damon helped them win a World Series, but when they went to the Yankees, that is it. They were dead to me. That was it. I'm not going to root for them.
I get it.
But I was a big Adrian Peterson fan, especially when he first came out of Oklahoma. I didn't turn into a Vikings fan. I was an Adrian Peterson fan, but I sure as heck didn't start rooting for the Titans here, all the teams he's been on. I wasn't like hopping like now I don't even remember all the teams. He's like a Lions fan because Adrian, like I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I know that's not the same as LeBron because LeBron, that's easy. You just follow him because you know he's going to win. Yeah. So that's not hard to do.
Do you think free agency starting about the time when I was in college in the 70s and eventually in the NFL didn't start till the 90s? I wonder if the advent of free agency changed being a lifelong fan of a team because players move so much because before they couldn't.
Well, and like if your team traded a guy away, you could be mad at them. But, look, I love Mookie Betts, but he's a Dodger now.
Right.
That's it. He's not going to help the Red Sox anymore. I can lament them trading him, but, that's just how it is. I don't know. I think, there was always those people. I remember driving through Dallas one day, and it was almost like a meme right in front of me. There's a person who had a back window, and it was a Cowboys, Lakers, and Yankees sticker. It was like the thing you just make fun of. That's not really real. There's nobody really like that. And it was like, no, all he was missing was like a Canadians or a Red Wings sticker to, really take every championship imaginable. I don't know. I think there's probably part of it's just that people are more fans of certain stars than they are of teams, but I don't know. I don't think there's like just some massive Aaron Rodgers fan. I mean, is there that's going to be a Bengals fan if he were to go there, or and you'd switch your allegiance from the Packers? Like, I don't know. I think it was kind of unique with LeBron, especially because he did move around, and it was sort of unexpected in a way that then he bounces to Miami, and so now all of a sudden a bunch of people who did not care one iota about the Cavs suddenly did because of LeBron, and they're not going to stick with the Cavs without LeBron, so now they're Heat fans, and then now they're Lakers fans. And
back to Brent.
But I don't think it's like that with most players. I think he's unique in that regard, but I also think there's just a lot of people that they just want to be able to say that their team wins all the time, and so it's just easier to hop from one bandwagon to another and not be accountable for it than actually go through the real pains of being a fan. So, those people probably celebrate championships, but there's no way, no matter what they say, that they get as much real, actual, true enjoyment out of it as people who actually go through the hard times.
Never thought Washington would ever win a Super Bowl, and when they did, I'll never forget the moment of where I was. And then I went through like you did, Paul, with Florida State, with Nebraska so close, even though they won a couple of times when I was very young. And then when they did, it was so much fun to enjoy that. And then, of course, the Rangers will still wait for that until the day that I'm dead.
I haven't seen the team win that I root for since the Mavericks, and that was like 11. A decade ago. It was a decade ago. And, that never crossed my mind of like, oh, the Astros are hot right now. The Rangers suck. I'm going to go be an Astros fan real quick. But there's people like that, and I just could never, ever be that way. That's a cheap celebration.
No, it doesn't mean anything. Like, you're just riding the euphoric wave all the time. You don't really know how it really feels when it's been a while.
Yeah, I guess there's some. I think there's a lot of fans now that follow players rather than teams, and maybe free agency. We have one note of breaking news in Big 12 women's basketball. Jim Littell has been the head coach at Oklahoma State the last 10 years. Has been pretty good. They were, he's been okay now 11 years. He is no longer the coach at Oklahoma State basketball. And had some good runs, but late, no tournament in 18-19, no tournament 19-20, second round last year, and then this year they were, so that's a note in women's basketball in the Big 12.
Yeah, not sure, don't have any clue on that situation at all. But
he took over when Kirk Butke, and remember, died in the plane crash, who was a longtime coach, junior college coach in Athens at Trinity Valley, was incredibly successful there.
Yeah, but if you're Oklahoma State, I guess you're probably looking around. You're seeing, what Baylor's doing and what Texas has been doing and what Iowa State's doing. And, yeah, you don't want to get, you don't want to drown and then, wait too long to make a change if a change is needed, I suppose. That's my best guess on the situation. But yeah, interesting.
Yeah, they were 8-19 this year, so they really, really struggled. All right, when we come back, Nikki Kalyn and the Baylor women's basketball team won another Big 12 title, regular season title. They'll head to Kansas City like everybody else and see what they can do there. They ended up winning it by a game over Iowa State, 2 over Texas, who they swept both of those teams. Oklahoma, who had a chance, finished fourth, 3 games back. It was a very highly intense run that has not been the case for many, many years, the last decade or so in women's basketball. Nikki Kalyn and a couple of things about this team, the moment and more. Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Dr. Kent Petty can help you become the high-performance man you want to be. And once maybe you were. As you go older, as you get older, there's nothing sometimes you can do about it. It's father time. Different things for different people, right, that happen as you get older. And one of them, if you're a man, 1 out of every 3 men have symptomatic issues of low testosterone. Dr. Kent Petty can help you with that. Go to the website, email or call them, tell them I sent you, and he can get you set up with a lab result, work on your blood, get the results, and find out if you're 1 out of 3 men with symptomatic issues and problems with your low testosterone. He could put you in a program. Energy, sleep, sex drive, maybe all of the above. PettyClinicLowT.com.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like our free First mobile app, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. That's the First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby is a homegrown, family-owned and operated must-visit pizza place in Waco. Fantastic pizza by the slice or get the whole pie to share. Great happy hour specials every single day, and it's not just pizza. Great wings. You have to try the Sikkim sauce, chili cheese fries, pizza pillows, and more. Dine in for a great hangout or carry-out. Order online at shortyspizzashack.com or do yourself a favor and bring your crew to the restaurant at 12th and Bagby. Shorty's Pizza Shack. Tell them Paul sent you by.
Three Nations Brewing Company has 16 different beers on draft with a new beer every Friday. It also offers 2 air-conditioned tap rooms, a large indoor beer hall, a second-floor mezzanine offering a great overview of the brewing company and equipment and patio where you can relax under the shade. Plus, you can now experience the new Three Nations Beer Garden Grill on our shaded patio with socially distanced seating for your enjoyment. Grab a cold beer and enjoy a bite from our freshly prepared and delicious menu. Street tacos, quesadillas, freshly cooked burgers and dogs, and veggie burgers too. State Fair tornado fries, nachos, and so much more, all prepared and cooked on site. So come visit the award-winning Three Nations Brewing Company on East Vandergrift off I-35 in Carrollton.
Payments for qualified buyers, 2.9% with $5,000 down, cash or trade. TTN Electric, see dealer for details.
The New Year, New Ride sales event continues at Richard Carr. Find pre-owned deals like a 2015 GMC Acadia or a 2016 Honda Accord for $227 a month, or get a 2019 Ram Tradesman truck for $333 a month. Our vehicles go through a 172-point inspection. Get top dollar for your trade, and 100% approval is always the goal. Find your next car or truck today at Richard Carr.
At Richard Carr, we give you more. It's plain and simple. Waco Custom Marketplace is the one-stop shop for what you need for tailgating, from charcoal, cold beer, and wine. And, of course, customize your order with brisket, tri-tip, sausage, wings, smoked pork tenderloin, country-style or pork spare ribs, marinated beef and chicken fajita meat, ground beef and chili, meat, hot dogs, and burgers, buns, seasoning, sauces, chips. There's fresh baked bread and kolaches every day, breakfast sausage links. And you can also customize your favorite cut of steaks from Select, Choice, or Prime, bacon wrap fillets, ribeyes, New York strips, sirloin, T-bone, and porterhouse. Full service butcher shop includes pork, poultry, beef, chicken, and seafood, serving Waco restaurants and families since 1940. Your one-stop shop for beef, pork, poultry, and seafood needs. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Are you a Sikkim 365 superfan? Then try out our premium subscriptions at Sikkim365.com.
Baylor women celebrated their umpteenth Big 12 Conference regular season title. I believe, and I just off the top of my head, since I arrived in 2010, they've won every conference title since 2010. 2010-11 season. They've also won every conference tournament, but perhaps was there one against West Virginia when the girl from West Virginia was a freshman and got hot. And there might be one more in there. I don't think so. I think they've kind of reeled all those off as well. So after the game, and they dominated Texas Tech, and they clinched the outright Big 12 title by a game over Iowa State, Nikki Kalyn discussed kind of the journey, and we've heard this from her on this show and also at other postgame, but about is there kind of a sense of relief that they've been able to get this done at this particular time after the year they've had?
For us right now, I want to cherish every day I have with this group. I want them to cherish every day that they have together, to understand this might be the best team they ever play on. And hopefully it's not. But if it is, that they've really, poured themselves into it and gotten a lot out of it. So for me, this week has been about preparing to win a basketball game because, it wasn't about sharing as much as it was about wanting to keep playing good basketball, to keep, putting one foot in front of the other, winning the day, knowing that, we're going to have to face this team again, potentially in the opening round of the Big 12 and wanting to play well there. And, we don't talk a lot about what our seed is going to be or anything like that. I just want to be playing good basketball in March, and I've said that from the beginning, that we were going to be better in March than we were in November. And because I believe that. I wholeheartedly believe that. I didn't know if it meant conference championship. What I knew was that if they kept believing that, I feel like I know how to coach this game. I know how to get the most out of people. I know how to put them in position to be successful. And so, if they just kept believing, I knew over time that we could gel and be a better basketball team right now.
I want you to, and I know we're up against the break, and 5 o'clock we'll have David Hellman, Kalyn Barnes right after that. One of the first times I've heard her say "I" much at all, except when she was first introduced, how they have been able to get it done. And she never changed course or their mission statement from day one. When we come back, David Hellman, his thoughts about what's going on with DeMarcus Lawrence, or what's going on with Amari Cooper, his thoughts about Calvin Ridley and the NFL Combine. Then Kalyn Barnes, who had the great 40 yesterday, former Baylor cornerback, will join us as well. Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Waco Custom Marketplace, your hometown grocery store with a butcher, full service, butcher and a bakery. On Friday, I cooked a bunch of bone-in ribeyes. My condo will never be the same, but it was fun because I love feeding anybody. And I cooked some big, thick bone-in ribeyes, and I hope the shaking of the nodding of the heads or whatever, everyone was enjoying them, and every one of them was bought or picked up at Waco Custom Marketplace. It's amazing what they have. Beef, pork, poultry, and seafood. I mentioned the full-service bakery. Open Monday through Saturday. And if you order live crawfish bags, 30-pound packs, by Wednesday at 6, you can pick them up anytime after Friday at 4. The bone-in ribeyes that we ordered or we cooked on Friday, they were delicious because they always are. They have what you need. Maybe a prime rib, maybe sirloin, or maybe just hamburger meat. It's Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
It's Ram Truck Month at Allen Samuels. The new 2022 Ram 1500 Lone Star Crew Cab has all the quality for work or play. Impressive towing capabilities, heavy-duty payload capacity, smooth ride, and an interior design is why Ram is the first truck ever to win #1 overall in initial quality according to J.D. Power. When looking for a truck that can do it all, come see the possibilities. First responders get a $500 discount. Shop AllenSamuelsDCJ.com or come in and see the huge selection of brand new cars and trucks.
Come by. Let's be friends.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
Pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care.
And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street in Waco is a hidden gem. They've got a great selection of spirits, wine, and the most extensive selection of craft beer in Waco in their gorgeous walk-in fridge. And they have an amazing array of high-end bourbons like Pinhook, Weller, Buffalo Trace, Brush Creek, Hotel, Garrison Brothers, Thomas S. Moore, Hooten Young, and Bardstown. Great customer service and a convenient and speedy drive-through window. Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Looking that way is Prescott throwing that way, and that's going to be caught for the touchdown by Amari Cooper.
It's time for our weekly segment with David Hellman of DallasCowboys.com.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
Kalyn Barnes will join us at 5:15 today, who blew up the Combine with his 4.23 on Sunday. David Hellman, Combine man himself, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. So, David, what is the truth, or what is the story behind DeMarcus Ware, the Cowboys, and DeMarcus Lawrence, and any kind of asking him for a pay cut?
Yeah, I think that was definitely something that was on the table. I think, honestly, anytime you have a guy that's on a deal that size that arguably isn't putting up the numbers to justify it, I think all of those things are on the table. But it's kind of amusing to me because, yeah, you can ask for or offer whatever you want, and by and large, the player is almost always going to say no. So I have it on pretty good authority. I mean, that was a non-starter from the get-go. I don't think Tank and his camp really ever considered that. But it's fun that the Cowboys put it out there that they would have liked it. I think a lot of teams would like their guys to take pay cuts. So we'll see where it goes. I think the Cowboys are in the situation of, they've got about a week to figure out what they want to do in terms of getting below the cap. And I think they're in a situation where they are trying to decide which guys are worth it at their number and which guys can they live without. I don't think even they know for sure what they're going to do with some of those contracts. But like I said, they're running out of time. They got about 9 days to decide who's staying and who's going.
If they do get rid of Amari Cooper, do you think that they will have only done that if they have an agreement with Michael Gallup?
That's a really good question. I would hope so. I would hope, and from what I understand, I do think they are working on that as we speak. I think they would love to have that done before the league year opens, if it does get done. And that's a really good point. I mean, if you release Amari Cooper without having Michael Gallup in the fold, you could set yourself up for a really bad time if somebody swoops in and blows both of them away, and all of a sudden you really don't have much in the way of a receiver core other than CeeDee Lamb, which CD is great, but you need more than one. So I think that's a really good point, and I think the Cowboys would be very smart to get it done before Wednesday of next week. We'll see if they can.
David, does it surprise you that we're in this position where it's Cooper on the way out and Gallup looking like he's the one that's going to be staying?
That's another good question. It doesn't surprise me in the sense that, like, the Cowboys have been telegraphing this for a long time. You know, they structured Amari's deal to be very front-loaded. They structured it so that the guarantees would be done after 2 years and that they could move on. They've avoided touching his money. You know, they love to restructure guys and push their cap hits into the future. They very noticeably have not done it with Amari Cooper. So in that regard, I'm not surprised at all. But if you had asked me in August who I thought was more likely to still be here, I would have said Amari. I think Amari's the better player, and I still think that's true. But, you know, with the cost and with the other stuff they've got to consider, I think the Cowboys, and to be like going back to what I said about Tank, I'm not convinced this is 100% set in stone. I do think that's what's likely to happen, but I think you got to leave yourself some wiggle room that it could change here over the next week. But again, for the price point, I think the Cowboys are going for the quantity over quality approach. I'll be interested to see how it pans out for him, especially since Michael, the trajectory that he's on right now, you know, he'll be up against it to be ready for training camp. He might miss all of training camp. It just depends. So I'll be interested to see, you know, how we look back on this, because if Amari Cooper gets cut, I'm positive he's going to have a robust market around the NFL, and it'll be fun to see who feels better about these decisions a year from now.
Do you think there's a chance they could restructure Amari Cooper?
Not really. For the same, pushing his money back or cutting his pay.
Yeah, because just based on what you said about the way they front loaded the contract, it would seem to me that restructuring would be off the table, because if that was the case, they would have structured the contract different from the jump, wouldn't they?
Right, and that's kind of my point. Is like, again, when Dak signed his extension, we've known for a year that they were going to push Dak's money back. They've done it with Tyron Smith. They've done it with DeMarcus Lawrence. They've done it with Zeke. They've done it with Zach Martin. And they could do the same with Amari and free up some cap space. If they were going to do it, we would have been talking about it by now. That unless they just have some kind of 11th hour change of heart and decide to make things work. But you know, if you pay attention to the way that this stuff goes, people have conversations with the powers that be, and they kind of start to float this stuff out there. And with a week until the league year opens, I just think we would have heard something about Amari being restructured if it was going to happen. I think, like I said, barring some kind of change of heart, I think it's either they keep him or let him go.
Yeah, you saw the times. In fact, Baylor had 3 guys run under 4.40. You had Kalyn Barnes, who's about to join us, run a 4.23. Tyquan Thornton did unbelievable, and even J.T. Woods. What are your thoughts overall about the speed, the numbers, which I know you still have to play football, but what you saw this weekend?
Just from Baylor or from everybody?
Well,
I think
31 players ran like a sub 4.4 from what I can tell at the Combine. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah. No, it's unbelievable. I mean, you just look at the times from the defensive line group. That's what jumps out to me. I mean, you got some real super freak stuff going on from a guy like Jordan Davis. I mean, if you can post, well, I think his final time was like a 4.8 something as a 340-pound nose tackle. Trevon Walker is another defensive lineman. Yeah, I mean, it's incredible. I will say, I think a lot of people write off the Combine unfairly, and they just call it the underwear Olympics. I honestly think a lot of people who say stuff like that are just too lazy to dive into the work of draft prep. But having said that, like, there are things we can glean from these drills, but at the same time, to your point, you still have to play football. I mean, if your tape sucks, I don't care how much of a freaky athlete you are, but if your tape looks good and you go out there and throw up an incredible 3-cone time or a vert or whatever it is for your position that signifies, that stuff is really valuable. And I think a lot of guys made themselves a boatload of money this weekend. I think there's at least a dozen guys that we were talking about as like fringe first-round picks, fringe top 50 picks that, going back to Travon Walker, a guy that people were talking about as like, oh, maybe the Cowboys could pick him. Now we're talking about him as a potential top 10 pick. So yeah, I think there's quite a few names that made themselves a bit of money this weekend.
What did you think of the Baylor guys?
To be honest with you, so this is the crappy part about my job. Like, I love the draft. I love everything about scouting these prospects, but I also am a beat writer. I've got to pull double duty. So when I go to Indy, I spend the vast majority of my time stalking executives and trying to figure out what's going to happen to Amari Cooper. And unfortunately, the draft picks kind of fall by the wayside. Fortunately, I'm good friends with people like Dane Brugler who are really tied into that stuff. He told me going in, he was like, hey, Baylor's bringing a track team to this event, so just get ready to see some crazy times from those guys. And he was absolutely right. I don't know how most of those guys fit in for the Cowboys, although, we've talked quite a bit about Jalen Petrie. I don't know how he did off the top of my head, but that's a guy that I could see the Cowboys targeting for sure, just based on the scheme they play and the skill set that he has.
Yeah, he didn't run the 40. He's going to do that at Pro Day, I think, but he didn't hurt himself by any means. So, yeah, he remains, I think, one of the more intriguing guys out there just in general for all draft analysts because of, he doesn't have the greatest size, but he's got such an incredible skill set. So, yeah, he's going to be fascinating to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the more you can do, and he's another one of those guys. Versatility is the name of the game. I think he can cover better than he got credit. Not that he got credit for. I think he can cover better than Baylor's team asked him to do. I think he can tackle. I think he's got fantastic instincts. And it's just becoming more and more of a matchup game. I mean, you look at Jaron Kearse for the Cowboys this year and all the hats he was asked to wear. I think guys like that, a safety, a DB that can fill 3 to 5 roles on a defense. You talk about, we focus so much on 11 guys, but any coach will tell you it's more like 15 or 16 in terms of key role players. And guys who fit that type of job description are just becoming more and more valuable.
Thank you, buddy. David Hellman.
David, your thoughts. Guys. David, your thoughts on the Calvin Ridley story?
Oh God, yeah.
I mean, honestly, I think this is not an original thought, but if anything, I think I'm surprised it took this long for something like this to happen. It's not surprising to hear, and it's not surprising that the league is throwing the book at him. I mean, it's kind of cynical, but obviously players can get into trouble for a million different reasons, and maybe the league doesn't always discipline them the way that they should. But if you're undermining the potential integrity of results, I mean, that's going to mess with the money in a big, big way. So I'm not surprised to see the league coming down hard on him because they cannot afford for any of their players to be thinking that's a risk worth taking. So sucks for him to learn the lesson that way, but I bet it sends a pretty loud and clear message around the league not to be trying that.
Thank you, David. David Hellman with us Mondays at 5. Was at the Combine. Kind of explained his role. Paul, your microphone was on. We'll have Kalyn Barnes here, former Baylor cornerback, here momentarily. We're going to go straight to his interview. Also, Charlie Creme. He does a bracketology for ESPN for women's basketball. Baylor, of course, right now ranked number 4 in the country and appears to be right there on the edge of a number 1 seed. They've made the run at the end of the year. And what a run. Literally yesterday in the NFL Combine by former Baylor cornerback Kalyn Barnes, who joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. How much has your phone blown up with the attention you have received, young man?
Yeah, most definitely. Yesterday, I woke up with. Yesterday, I had 5,000 followers. I woke up with 10K. So it's been going real crazy right now.
Not bad. Not bad at all.
Yeah. So, Kalyn, you run a 4.33 the first time, which most people would kill for. I mean, almost anybody at the Combine would kill for a 4.33. Did you know the second time you were going to get better?
Oh yeah, most definitely. Because that 4.3 looked too good. Because I was shooting for a 4.2 anyway. So I ran a 4.3 the first time, and I kind of knew where I messed up at. Like in the run, I popped up too fast. I knew exactly what to do for the second run. So I knew it was going to be faster.
Kalyn, did you feel challenged after what Taekwon had done on Thursday night?
Yeah, most definitely. You know, a lot of guys at the combine, you know, we were teammates, and they were like, I heard you fast too. You know, what you gonna do? And I was like, I'm gonna just show y'all when I get there. I can't speak on. I'm gonna have this moment right now. You know, I'm proud of my boy. I'm proud of him.
It was such an unbelievable weekend of publicity for Baylor football with what Taekwon did and then what you did and what JT did, among others. What about it? We know the family, the camaraderie, all the things you guys have represented through ups and downs in the time you were there. What was that like to feed off of each other?
And, you know, most three of us we came in together as freshmen. You know, we all had to play early, you know, with both coaching staff, with Coach Rule and David Rondo. You know, they both taught us a lot of things with being mentally prepared and how to become a better, be accountable and how to become a better man, like each and every day.
All right, so if you were to make a 4x1 team from your team this year, I'm assuming the three of you guys might be on it, JT, Taekwon, and you. Who would be the fourth person on that, and where would you stack the roster? Where would you run?
All right. It's going to be me, Taekwon, JT. I give it the L. And I'm anchor, of course. I'm put Tristan at the first leg. I'm gonna let Taekwon. No, I'm gonna let JT run the stretch, and I'm gonna let Taekwon run the curve. Because I know he'll create separation. He's gonna hand it to me. I'm gonna bring it home.
That's a pretty formidable team right there. Yeah, I didn't think about Tristan as well. Yeah, absolutely.
And he hasn't run yet, right? That's today, isn't it?
No, he's running at Pro Day.
Pro Day, yeah.
No. Tristan ran. He ran a 4.43, right?
Yeah, no, he had a heck of a time. Abram's going to run in the Pro Day.
Abram's running Pro Day.
Yeah, me, Abe, and Ty, we all training together.
Oh, yeah, cool. So what's that process been like? Just the training and getting ready? I mean, the grind, and it's as much mental, I would think, Kalyn, as physical as well. But, you know, it's something you guys have been preparing for a long time. Now that you're in it, what's the experience been like?
It's been, like I said, I just followed back on the two coaching staff we had. I feel like we was like really prepared, like we was ready for it. You know, these 4 years we had two great coaches. They both prepared it real well. Like during the years we were there. But the experience is exciting. You know, it's a blessing just to get the experience. You know, a lot of guys shoot like a lot of guys. This is like a lot of football players' dream. Mm-hmm. So just to actually be here, like it's like feel real, like surreal. Like it's just, I just say it's a blessing just to be here. Thank you for the opportunity.
So, Kalyn, I mean, obviously you guys are wrapped up. Are you wrapped up a massive year for Baylor, biggest year in school history as far as football, winning the number of games you did, and then the Sugar Bowl. I mean, you went through so much change over the last 4 years, position coaches, head coaches, all that jazz. I mean, just what was that like to be able to close your career in the Sugar Dome or in the Sugar Bowl against Ole Miss with a win like that after having won the Big 12 title, given the ups and downs? I mean, just how satisfying was that for you?
It was real satisfying. You know, it was a way to go out with a bang. You know, it was my last year. So, you know, just going out with a bang, you know, I lost the game from 2019 in the Sugar Bowl. You know, I just ended my game somewhere like I wanted to win that from the previous years. It was a real good feeling.
What's it been like from those who knew you at Silsbee? We've talked about, you mentioned the Twitter followers, whatever that was. What about your text messages? How many people blew up your phone?
Nah, a lot of people text my phone, but you know, I just changed my number recently, so a lot of people really don't got my phone. But I know, like the guys back at Baylor, they would text me, and like the people that do have my number, some of my close friends, they had text me, you know, of course, and obviously like my family members and like old high school coaches. But that's really what my phone was consistent with.
You of course, what was it? Is it 10-2-2 in the 100? Is that what you did at the state meet?
My junior year.
Your junior year. So this is in your blood. This is something you've worked hard for. Just because you're naturally fast doesn't mean that means you run a 4.23. This is all about hard work as well, not just the training, but being a track guy. How much does it mean to you that you were able to do that in the spotlight, in the moment, like during an interview, and all the stuff you've done before it worked out?
Can you say that one more time?
After all the hard work from the days you were in high school, the track and football and everything else, to get to where you were and then to pop that number, how much does that make everything worth it? And how much did it kind of just like, man, it all worked out at the right time?
Yeah, it was, I feel like everything, like I always got asked, do I change anything back in the past? And I was like, no, I wouldn't, because I feel like I wouldn't be in the position I am here today. But just all them long days. I remember 2016. That was the year it really started. I used to go. We used to be a bunch of us out there just working every day and be out there for hours and hours. And bringing that same mentality into college, still just trying to get better. And then I had 2 tough coaches, and I feel like I was built for it. Like I was just built for being in this position.
A 10.22, and then next time 10.04. I mean, you have put up some unbelievable numbers, but you're a football player as well. How much sometimes do people focus on the speed rather than the fact you play football?
Yeah, that's kind of common, but I try to tell people, like, I'm a football player that runs track, not a track player. I'm a track player that plays football. I think they kind of have it mixed up at the time.
So, Kalyn, I know there's a lot of interviews and just media and all sorts of different things. You guys get measured and all that kind of jazz. But what kind of a feeling do you have leaving the combine? I mean, obviously, there's a lot of talk about your 40 time, but just in terms of sort of the vibe you picked up and talking to teams, I mean, what was kind of said to you? What are you sort of expecting now as the rest of the build-up to the draft continues?
I expect good things out of it. I just got to keep praying and keep God first, And I expected it to be a good come out because I really feel like, with the time I ran, it was kind of expected to like not to where like it was a record breaking time type of thing. But I feel like it then, like with the drills, doing my drill work, I feel like I had a good day of drills, and then I'm having another opportunity per day. But I think it was well worth it.
Your agent, Aston Wilson, Eric Galka, who was the guy that ran the Shrine Bowl out in Vegas, he talked about you, Taekwon, Treston, and all that. It's been fun, huh? It's just starting for you, but how much has your agent helped along the way? Obviously, they have an important part of this, and just kind of having a chance to show yourself off.
Like, he does everything behind the scenes. He gets it done. That was something I was looking for when I was looking for an agent. It was someone that was like actually about the business part of it, and just not trying to get like the player who like just the player that they actually like stood on their word and just handle business like they promised they were gonna do.
Enjoy it. You got anything, Craig? Enjoy it, Kalyn. Thank you very much. We'll be in touch. And again, thanks to Aston Wilson as well for setting that up. We appreciate it. Get some rest and then stay focused.
Yes, sir. I'm all good.
Kalyn Barnes from Silsbee, Texas, Baylor cornerback. And when Rich Eisen tweeted out, when the NFL tweeted out Tyquan Thornton's unofficial time on Friday or Thursday night, John Ross congratulated him. When Rich Eisen tweeted out Kalyn Barnes' number yesterday, John Ross then put that one out as well. So that's respect from the guy that had put up and still has the highest and fastest, at 4.22.
Well, I think it's pretty crazy is that the 3 fastest times were nearly all Baylor players or could have been in a different world. And I know probably every school could do like, well, hey, we recruited this guy too. But Tariq Woolen had the 2nd fastest time, and he literally came down to Baylor versus UTSA a few years ago. Matt Rule and them wanted him bad, and he chose UTSA. And I want to say – I don't know if he played I don't know. I can't remember the time periods right away.
When they played each other?
Yeah, I can't remember if it was like right after that or right before that. But either way, Tariq Woolen was very close to being a Bear and ended up at Roadrunner instead, but he posted the second fastest time. So had he ended up at Baylor all those years ago, you might have had 1, 2, 3, all sub 4.3s by Bears. Instead you had 2 out of 3. That's still pretty dang good, though.
All right, it's 5:27. When we come back, the Big 12 has announced their all-conference team. No surprise, Nalissa Smith was unanimous player of the year. We'll have a little bit of that, but Charlie Creme will join us, ESPN.com. He does the women's basketball tournament bracketology. Can Baylor get that number 1 seed? Right now ranked number 4 in the country. They started high, fell back a little bit, and here they are, right smack in the middle of that conversation. Next on Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Allen Samuels, an award-winning dealership. You find so much more to deal with because their lot has cars and, of course, new and pre-owned cars, which are so hard to find. It's all about the championship drive, Baylor, like they have at Baylor with March Madness. Allen Samuels is a huge new car and truck inventory, brands that win awards year after year. Shop for power, performance, reliability of the 2022 Ram 1500 Lone Star Quad Cab. Total values of $8,500 or get $3,000 bonus cash and 2.9% financing for 72 months. First responders, an extra $500 of cash. Also, the 2022 Wagoneer Series 2 and 3. I drove the Wagoneer Series 2. It's fantastic. And the 2.9% offer for 72 months plus $1,500 in bonus cash, $500 extra for first responders. The Jeep Grand Cherokee, the L, the Wagoneer, some of the newest styles, sure to deliver style, dependability, and also a whole lot of room and a gorgeous ride at Allen Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat, Loop 340 east of 84 in Waco.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
Brad Boozer, Boozer's Jeweler, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. I've seen people walk in there. First of all, you have so much to show. Necklaces, bracelets, rings. You have the watches. You have numerous great watches as well. You really have pretty much everything, don't you, when it comes to jewelry?
That's correct. Kind of a one-stop shop and all. And the fact that we have the 2 jewelers on staff, the repairs we can do, the fixing of your jewelry, and the remaking of any jewelry has really set us apart from anybody else.
You want to know why they're successful? Brad Boozer, the owner of Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air in Waco.
Texas Farm Bureau Insurance has protected fellow Texans with auto, home, health, and life insurance since 1952. With more than 260,000 square miles of land and 27 million people, that's a lot to cover. Whether you're wrangling cattle or wrangling kids, we're proud to protect Texans in all Texan ways of life.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Did you know that 1 out of every 4 men have symptomatic low levels of testosterone and don't even know it? And if you think you're too young to worry about it, guess again. Low T levels can make you feel tired and grumpy, cause weight gain, and wreak havoc on your sexual desire and performance. Petty Clinic Low T can set up same-day blood screening and results, so if you're tired of being tired, I challenge you to man up and Google search Low T Waco or go online pettycliniclowt.com. It's a private clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Affordable, only $150 a month, includes lab work, office consultation, testosterone injections, follow-up visits compared to $395 a month in Dallas or Austin, and you don't have to fight the traffic. Petty Clinic Low T as board-certified physician consultations will provide the best form of brand-strength testosterone available. Contact Petty Clinic Low T today, just off Highway 84 and Old Hewitt Drive in Woodway. Petty Clinic Low T, helping men become the high-performance men they deserve to be. PettyClinicLowT.com or Google search Low T Waco.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? by not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference, and that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
There are 26 letters in the alphabet, over 600,000 words in the dictionary, and just 3 of them said together can change everything. Let's order pizza. Those 3 words lead to dough made from scratch and 3 fresh signature cheeses that blanket golden crust in a heavenly melt on Marco's Pizza that'll blow your mind. So visit marcos.com to order and stop by Marco's Pizza in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to open in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Tom Albers, staying in touch with you and your money through these difficult and changing times. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Here we go. Charlie Creme, ESPN.com, women's basketball. How do the seeding set up? We've had Charlie on before. He's great at what he does. He joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. Charlie, South Carolina remained number 1 despite the loss to Kentucky, who got hot during the tournament. Baylor has dug themselves back in this thing. Is there a way they can get to be a number 1 seed?
Yes, I believe there is. I believe a fairly likely scenario is that they win the Big 12 tournament, they will be a number 1 seed. And it's really because Louisville left the door open, losing to North Carolina toward the end of the regular season, and then that stunning loss to Miami in the quarterfinals of the ACC tournament. Otherwise, Louisville has an advantage over Baylor in some of the important metrics that the committee looks at, but Baylor is inch closer in those numbers. And like I said, Louisville, 2 losses late down the stretch sort of opened the door. So I think Baylor has a regular season Big 12 title on its resume and a tournament title on its resume. And the way they've played basically this last month and a half, I think the Bears end up that 4th number 1 seed.
How much of an advantage is it that they get to do all this with everybody having mostly played already?
Oh, I think it's a huge advantage. You kind of know what the scoreboard already reads before you take the court. I think they know the scenario. If they were playing at the same time as the ACC tournament, for instance, I'm assuming Baylor probably would have advanced past the quarterfinals and would have already seen Louisville losing, which helps. But now they have time to sort of sit back, watch that happen, practice. Maybe now practice with more of a purpose. If the coaching staff is hearing me talk, or they hear people around the whole bracketing thing talk, and not kind of know what I'm saying now, I would imagine that's pretty decent motivation for your players. You can go in that locker room if you're Nikki Cullen and say, "Hey, look, you guys want to be a number 1 seed? You want that recognition? Well, they're saying that that's what we can do. We just got to go out and take care of our own business." And they have everybody else in the rearview mirror, and so the measurement is real easy.
So, Charlie, obviously there was a big change in the offseason with Kim Mulkey going to Baton Rouge and then Nikki Collin coming in. They got off to a little bit of a rocky start for Baylor women's basketball standards, which is like losing a game. But, COVID issues and whatnot. How have you seen them sort of grow and evolve, especially here over the last few weeks?
Well, I think that's exactly what it is, growth and evolution. I think we all thought there would be a little bit of an adjustment period. I think it was pretty well documented from Nikki and her staff that coming in that they were going to play a different way. It was going to be a little bit more perimeter oriented. They were going to shoot more threes. They still were going to play with extra pace. Not that Baylor ever played slow before, but I think more consciously thinking, okay, we're gonna push the pace a little bit more. How do you incorporate a Nalissa Smith into this new system? How does she get used to it? How do these 2 brand new guards that are coming from other programs assimilate into a new program for them, but it's also a new program for their teammates, but they're both coming from different scenarios. So all of that takes some time. And I think I think we all kind of thought in that time they would get better as the season rolled on. And I think it's almost lined up with the way I envisioned the season to go for them, that maybe they struggled even a little bit more than I thought. I would not have predicted 2 losses to Oklahoma, for instance, but it all seems to kind of be coming together. And Melissa Smith is really making a push to be that, really be in that conversation for National Player of the Year. I have a hard time a little bit with, it's been pretty much Aaliyah Boston, Caitlin Clark, and Smith's sort of been forgotten because Baylor hasn't been right there at the top most of the season. As I said, they're inching their way back there. But quite honestly, she was my preseason choice for National Player of the Year, and I really hope that from a national perspective, the conversation starts to swirl around 3 players and not just 2.
You have Baylor and LSU both on the 2 line right now. If Baylor gets to the 1 line, do you think that the NCAA would put Baylor and LSU in the same regional for the drama?
No. And I say that because, first of all, doing a bracket, incorporating drama is yet another thing to worry about, is next to impossible because there's so many rules and procedures that you have to follow to make sure the bracket is balanced and teams aren't repeating matchups and playing teams in their own conference. And the way it would line up, if Baylor was a number 1 seed, they're going to be the 4th number 1. LSU, in my estimation, is probably going to drop after Connecticut gets done with business tonight to the 7th or 8th spot overall on the 2-line list. So they're basically the second to last or last 2. And those 2 things don't line up for balancing the bracket. The committee is really committed, especially the last few years, of at least getting the 1 and the 2 lines true S-curve. And there's no way to line those numbers up if LSU falls to where I think they're going to be, which is, like I said, 7 or 8 overall with Baylor 5 or 4 overall.
Charlie, 2 or 3 weeks ago, did you give Baylor any chance in hell of being a number 1 seed?
No, I really didn't because, like I said before, this really all hinges on what Louisville hasn't done.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't telling everybody that hey, these 4 number 1 seeds are locks, but I was saying that they're pretty close, with the anticipation that that Louisville certainly wouldn't lose to North Carolina, and most definitely would advance past their first ACC tournament game. I fully expected when I was saying this that Louisville would probably make the final of the ACC tournament, play win or lose against NC State, and that would be enough to keep them at number 1. But obviously Baylor has had to do what it's done, which is just win and win and win, and frankly win pretty convincingly across the board since losing that second game to Oklahoma. But it's really more of this is a case of what Louisville didn't do than what Baylor did do to set up this scenario where Baylor could be that number 1. And so I did. So I guess the simple answer is no. I did not foresee this happening.
It's not rocket science, but women's basketball's depth for a long, long time, as you know, Charlie, there was like 3 to 4, maybe 5 teams. And I'm not trying to be flippant because I've covered it for 40 years, women's basketball. But is it deeper now? Is it obviously maybe not 8 to 12 deep, but is it there's more upset? It used to be, oh my God, so-and-so lost. Now it doesn't seem to be so shocking. Is it getting deeper in your opinion at the top?
It is. It's stretched out a little bit. I think if you're really putting the pressure on me to say national champion, I think it's probably coming from one of 5 teams, Baylor being included in that list. I don't think it's going much deeper than that, the teams that really could win it. Mm-hmm. But make the Final Four, I think you've probably got maybe, in the right scenario, you might have 8 or 10 teams that could make the Final Four. And, I just think those 5 teams are the only ones good enough to get there and then finish the deal by winning 2 more. But yeah, that was it. I think the Final Four, even if you only go back about 5, 6, 7 years, the Final Four itself was pretty easy to predict. With that one exception is we had that year where UConn was the clear best team in the country and they won the national championship with ease. But that Final Four included Syracuse and Washington. And that was sort of, I think, maybe our first example of this thing's getting a little bit more has a little bit more depth to it now, and it's increasingly gotten more so. I think over the years, with not necessarily with crazy surprise teams like that making a Final Four, but with the idea that it's not a 1 or 2 team race every single year for the national championship. Now it's a 5-team race instead.
I think when Louisville upset Brittany Griner, speaking of which over the weekend, but that year in 2013, and then Mississippi State made a run like a year or two after that. It used to be Stanford, Notre Dame, UConn, and Baylor, and you could throw maybe 1 or 2 other in, but you're right. It's better for the league. It's better for the sport to have.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, anything else, Paul, Craig?
Just how do you see Texas and Iowa State stacking up, being top 10-ish teams out of the Big 12? Just your thoughts on both those programs.
Great years for both. Better years for both than I anticipated. I thought they'd be good, but for instance, in the preseason, I was unsure about Texas. I think Vic Schaefer is one of the best coaches in the country. He's great, but I was really suspicious of how much talent they actually had. They were going to be relying on a lot of youth. They were still really heavily defensive oriented. Where were they going to get points? And this is kind of the team they are. Where are they going to get points, I think, is a question every game. But they're so good defensively, and they're so structured in what they do that they've been a lot better than I thought. I think I had them as maybe a preseason 8 seed, and here they are knocking on the door of a 2. Iowa State, same thing. Thought they'd be in the top 15 to 20 teams in the country, and now we're looking at them in the top 10. I do think that how each of them fares in the Big 12 tournament will determine what team's going to be on the 2 line and what's going to be in the 3 line. Because I think when all is said and done, because they still have this tournament to play, that one of them is probably going to fall off and not be on the 2 line. Right now, I have Texas just on the 3 line, but they could move up to the 2 line. But it's probably going to be at the expense of Iowa State. So I figure that only one of them will be a 2. So you could have a 1 seed, a 2 seed, a 3 seed, and still possibly a 4 seed with Oklahoma. So 4 teams still could be in the top 16. And broadening out a little bit further, I think this is a much better year for the Big 12 than most people thought too.
Yeah, it's deeper this year, and not just the coaching change, but Texas has won 8 straight. They're hot. They're red hot after the losses back-to-back against Baylor, so they're on fire. It'll be interesting to see what happens in Kansas City. Charlie, as always, thank you very much for the knowledge. We appreciate you.
You got it. Always good to be with you guys.
You too. Charlie Creme, ESPN, breaks down the women's tournament, and women, Baylor, if they do run the table, which will not be easy, even though they smothered Iowa State and they beat Texas, twice in 3 days, they have a chance to seal the deal. And both teams, Baylor men and women, right there on the verge of a number 1 seed. Right now, they are. But we'll see what happens in Kansas City and if that affects that at all. It strengthens it or maybe knocks them to a 2 line.
Yeah, I mean, that was a big deal for the women's program. It could have easily become an afterthought with Mulkey's departure. Could have just decided, like, hey, we've been great for a while. We'll try, but, it's not going to be the same. But Mack Rhodes went and swung, big and went to the WNBA to grab Nikki Collin. And, again, it was not easy in the beginning. I'm sure it's still not been easy at different points, throughout the last few months, but it's great right now. And, then you mentioned Caitlin Bickle and Jamie Asbury announcing they're coming back for a 5th season. That's a big deal for next year's roster. And I think it's just a big deal that, instead of having to, like Matt Rule for like 2 years had to keep preaching like the end goal and the end goal and the end goal. But with Nikki Collin, winning a title in the first year,
it had
bam,
to be, yeah.
You got proof in the pudding right there. There's no, just believe, no, the belief should be there. They got the job done, and they weren't necessarily expected to, no matter who they were returning. Still, you lose a Hall of Fame coach like that. It doesn't really matter who comes in and replaces him. There's probably, in most cases, going to be a drop-off, but here they are in the same spot at the very end, so kudos to them.
Well, yeah, and you take off, a little bit of COVID, you got to really do. If teams have COVID, pauses, then it's not like it was a year ago, but you have to take into account that people are sick. They're not going to play well coming off of being sick, especially with COVID. And then the other thing you think about looking forward is, all right, you've got some super seniors now coming back, or seniors coming back for that 5th year, super senior, whatever you want to call them. It's again,
Bickle
hard
is,
Bickle
is
yeah.
going to be a fifth-year senior.
Yeah, but you've got people coming back when they don't have to, and that means that you win a conference title. That means that transfer portal looks a lot better for you had you not, because had they not won the conference title after doing it for so long, then a lot of prospective players would be like, well, I mean, that was that. I mean, it might be what happens with Duke with John Shire. You don't know. Yeah.
There have been two incredibly popular and successful, especially Kim Mulkey, coaches who have left Baylor one way or the other since 2016. I remember when Art Briles was fired, a parent of a guardian of a player said they will not win, they will be trash for 10 years. We know what happened 2 years later when Matt Rule took them to that Sugar Bowl. And then so many that thought maybe with Kim Mulkey leaving that Baylor women's basketball would never be the same, and I understood that. I mean, it's not the other part, 10 years, because Baylor, here they are, the first year. Now they've won the regular season, go win the Big 12, get a number one seed, and see what happens in the tournament. The women's Big 12 team announced Coach of the Year, Brandon Schneider from Kansas. Player of the Year, Nalissa Smith. As Craig, I think you mentioned, is unanimous. Jordan Lewis, Newcomer of the Year. Rory Harmon of Texas is the Freshman of the Year. Two Baylor players on the first team, Jordan Lewis and Nalissa Smith. Also, Iowa State had 3 first-round picks. On the
first-teamers.
3 first-team picks. On the argument that I've seen on the men's Coach of the Year with Scott Drew that Mark Adams swept Baylor, and I get that they did. Oklahoma swept Baylor in women's basketball, but their coach did not win.
That person should be Coach of the Year then.
Yeah.
That makes perfect sense.
In fact, it was the coach in Kansas, because it's been a while for Kansas, and they made a hell of a run, and they ended up winning the Coach of the Year. And we mentioned Coach Littell at Oklahoma State no longer is their head coach. Sarah Andrews was a second-round pick for Baylor, and all defensive team, Nalissa Smith led the way with that as well.
I think you got drafts in the brain. Second team pick. I do have the draft from the Combine discussion. When we come back, Paul Catalina's Top 5. Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs, even offering financing if that's needed. Everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
Born in Waco, Brotherwell Brewing exists to serve the Central Texas community with locally crafted beer of the highest quality. They want to bring Central Texas closer to the brewing experience so everyone can enjoy well-made beer as much as they do. For 2.5 years, they've been bringing high-quality beer to Central Texas at their location on Bridge Street in East Waco. Brotherwell Brewing believes in community and bringing people together to enjoy products made in their community. So for your game day, whether it's a tailgate or at home, stop by Brotherwell Brewing for high-quality craft beer made right here in Central Texas, 400 East Bridge Street, and check them out online at brotherwell.com.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm, welcome home.
Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injuries, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
Automatic Chef Canteen is a full-service micro-market vending and office coffee provider with state-of-the-art vending equipment, a wide variety of products, and offering custom-fitted micro-market vending office coffee solutions for your employee break room. You want a full break room solution and a workplace oasis? Well, Automatic Chef Canteen, locally owned and operated for over 50 years in Central Texas, also includes in-house mechanics on call 24/7 for fast, reliable service and maintenance. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchefcanteen.com.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, everyone. This is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like mortgage lending, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. This is Paul Catalina's Top 5 at 5:55, presented by Champion Salon and Barber. To book your appointment, go to championsalonandbarber.com.
Top 5 college basketball teams who need a good week. These are teams that are riding the bubble right now. One of them is kind of surprising, but they're in a one-bid league, so we'll get to these post-haste. Number 5, BYU had some good wins earlier in the year, but they cannot get in now based on their record. They're going to have to go and win the conference tournament, and the problem with that is that conference tournament is not set up for them to win. They're in the league with St. Mary's and Gonzaga.
Yeah.
And so that tournament is set up for St. Mary's and Gonzaga to play each other again. So BYU is going to have to go through and win their conference tournament to get in. So that means going in right now, you don't have enough quality wins to get in on an at-large bid. That's over for BYU. You have to now win the conference tournament that is set up for pretty much Gonzaga to win it.
Yeah, that's going to be a tough. I didn't even realize they'd fallen to that point.
Yeah, I mean, that's the tournament where Gonzaga basically doesn't play until the championship game, practically. Yeah. That'll be tough and probably not likely to do. I know I've seen a lot of, see a lot more BYU on my timeline now, having followed a couple people that cover them because of all the expansion and everything. So I saw it. Yeah, they had a good start, and those posts have faded a little bit, certainly. So, yeah, that's going to be a tough task, especially with the tournament set up the way that it is.
Yeah. Number 4, North Texas. And our friend Grant McCaslin, even though they won the conference regular season title, they've got a tough conference tournament to go through. And if things start to get clipped for them, for that league, UNT may see their way out of it if they don't win the league, which I think is silly. They should be in no matter what. But
what did Grant McCaslin tell us? No matter what they've done, they're probably a one-bid league.
Yeah.
And you would think that conference maybe wouldn't be in that position.
Well, as champions in a one-bid league, wouldn't they be choice?
But they're the regular season, not the tournament champions. So they don't win the tournament, then they're the automatic.
It's like the Southland. It's like the Southland, even though SFA a couple of times under Underwood and then Kyle Keller, remember, and by the way, they did get a share. I mean, it could be 27-3, beat Baylor on the road, or what did they do last year? SFA won somewhere. I mean, it doesn't matter. You have to win the conference tournament, or otherwise you're pretty much done.
Yeah. Number 3, Rutgers. This is a team that probably fading out of at-large status. If they don't do well, at least in the early part of the Big Ten tournament, they probably don't have to win it, but they need to get a couple of wins in it because some of their early season wins that look good now, like, say, Michigan, don't look as good as they did when it happened, so those have fallen off for Rutgers. Rutgers needs a good week in the Big Ten tournament.
They're 18-12. You know it's a nightmare for the Big Ten? This little team out of Lincoln, they'll get blown out by somebody. They just beat Wisconsin. They've won 3 in a row. That's the kind of crazy of what happens with. They're not going to. I'm joking there, but yeah, someone in the Big 12, the Big 10 that's not supposed to win it is going to knock somebody out who's right there on that little sliver of hope.
I feel bad for Nebraska fans, man, because it's become almost to the point where, like, the apathy of football has spread to basketball to now where they win a game like the other night. People, like, joke about, it's like, oh, at least they finally won something. It's just like,
it's true,
golly,
though. I was like, I didn't believe it.
I swear, it's just like that's every time I see a Nebraska post now, it's like somebody taking it. Like, you can't even win a big basketball game without the football program getting dug at. It's crazy.
They're like Eeyore. From Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah.
Hi, Pooh.
Yeah, just getting kicked constantly.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm an Edith Thistle.
They are abysmal.
All right. Number 2, Notre Dame in a league like the ACC. Yeah, Notre Dame on the bubble,
They're 15-5 in the league.
They're on the bubble. They got to do well. I'm telling you. The ACC, they don't have a lot of good wins. The ACC is not very good. The ACC is a terrible league. ACC is a terrible league.
Okay, I'm looking at the wrong. You're telling me that Duke and North Carolina are both in, right?
And probably Wake Forest. But Notre Dame is not guaranteed a spot right now.
Okay.
Look, they're behind Miami. I mean, they're ahead of
They're
Miami.
22 and I know, but
Notre Dame needs a good week. I'm telling you, they don't need to win the thing. They need a good week.
I'm going to go back to the bracketology and see how many they have in the ACC getting in. I wonder if they would get 4, 5, or 6.
Now, Miami probably also falls in this category as well. But, again, kind of splitting hairs, maybe Miami a little bit more than Notre Dame. Notre Dame was more interesting to me that you look at it and you look at different bracketologies about Notre Dame needs to have a good week. I'm not saying they're not going to make it, but if they have a bad week, they've given people an excuse to put them out.
Okay.
Because the ACC is a bad league.
I mean, I don't know. Here's it's a random bracket site that came up. TR Brackets has them at less than a 40% chance of making the tournament. So stronger odds than a lot, but still not surefire chance of making the tournament.
Yeah, need a good week. And number 1, a coach we had on last week, Jim Jankovic, SMU. Yep. They've got 3 wins against Houston and Memphis in the league out of 4 games. Memphis has maybe solidified their spot to get in. They should be okay right now, but SMU needs to have a good week, which is weird considering that the best teams in the league, they're 3-1 against.
Houston's 5 in the net rating, which is, again, a lot of that has to do with margin of victory as well behind Gonzaga, Arizona, Baylor, and Kentucky. I saw a note from Jeff Goodman that Houston does not have a single win against a team that has qualified or most likely will be a part of the NCAA tournament. That's hard for me to imagine. Now, that doesn't mean that
last year
they lost. Go ahead.
Last year they had not the same problem, but a similar problem, and that Houston had gotten all the way to the Final Four, and the first tournament teams they really played were the ones when they were in the tournament.
Yeah, they lost to Memphis twice, so we're talking about wins now, and they split with SMU. Golly, I'm looking at this. They did beat Oklahoma State, but they're not going. They lost to Alabama. Or they hammered Oregon, but
Oregon's not.
Virginia, they beat Virginia, so that might be, and they beat them badly by 20.
Well, SMU, I really enjoyed talking with their coach the other day. He was great, and they're very much on the bubble right now. We'll see how they do in the American, but I'd love, just after talking to him, I had no dog in the fight, but now I kind of want to see the Ponies make the tournament, but they do have a little bit of work to do. They do.
Former Kentucky commit Sky Clark. Is that, Paul? Was that one?
Well, that was one.
Yeah, okay. I didn't want to be a part of that 22 times. Sky Clark, who was a Kentucky decommitted, he has a handful of teams that have already reached out to him. Tennessee, Arizona State, Syracuse, Xavier, USC, Gonzaga, Oklahoma State, Butler. He's listed Washington here a couple of different times. Marquette, etc., and on and on and on. Armstrong, we don't have time for my little funny thing, do we? Do that tomorrow? Okay, we will. It's not even funny. It's gone by the wayside.
Did you go see the Batman this weekend?
It's hilarious.
In fact, here we go. I did. Let's do this. You guys did not invite me because you didn't want me to ask me, are we there yet? Or who is Clayface? Or whatever it was going to be.
He's not.
So I went to see Batman this weekend.
To the Batmobile. For the
first time, the complete Batman TV series is yours to own in a limited edition Blu-ray collection.
Just in time.
All 120 original broadcast episodes.
What? Is it possible? Not only possible, but true.
New Batman movie that's
Remastered in HD.
All right.
I don't know, Robert Pattinson, that suit, I'm not
the original.
sure.
That is what matters.
I'll tell you this: if somebody bought me that, I would love it. That's a heck of a gift for me.
cool.
I loved that show when I was a kid. It's funny. I show it. I've shown it to my nephews a couple times when they come over. They think it's hilarious. It's great. Julie Newmar still looked good in there. There you go. Way to go, Julie.
Yeah. So you really couldn't have picked a different version of Batman that is more opposite of what the current Robert Pattinson version, like you would talk about.
That's what I grew up with.
Dark and brooding and, all that. This is not that in any way, shape, or form.
Eyebrows drawn in on the cowl. Yeah.
That is original, unique, right there, the character of entertainment.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Emery.
Burt Ward was Robin.
Mm-hmm.
Emery Winter. Jack McKenzie, waiting on that Aaron Rodgers decision over the next day or two at Packerville. Also, Armstrong Sims. Thank you guys, all of you, for being here. Paul Catalina to my left, Craig Smoak to my right, our incredible sponsors from Sikkim365.com. The premium section, register if you haven't. We'd love you to do that. Be a part of YouTube. Subscribe and like us. Spread the word. We appreciate that. All of you, everyone who gives us even a second of your time, it's an honor. David Smoak, good night. Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
After my first car accident, I feared the biggest damage would be to my wallet. I expected a mountain of bills and a long, drawn-out process. But my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent was there when I needed her and helped me get back on my feet and in my car in no time. Instead of a hassle, I got reassurance and a quick recovery.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.